but also a woman with a child on her back. What people are still left at the totaling center as of now?
Well, talking of people mostly here at the totaling center, we just have the polling staffs and of course the observers from different political parties, you know, and that are just coming, and most of the polling staffs, they just come here, they deliver the ballot papers, and off they actually leaving the totaling center. They just leaving the observers and you know, the ECZ staff here to do the tallying and the announcing of the results.
Josephat Hamakala, thank you so much for giving us details of what's happening there in Chisamba. And Chisamba is still waiting for the consolidated results. Our report there at the Totaling Center, and so far about 15 polling stations have been, sent to the Totaling Center, and there's still more to come. And the Commission did promise that and commit that later on in the afternoon they'll be able to announce some of these results at presidential level that are coming out of the different constituencies. And we're building up to that as
and
we
it's
speak.
not just, it's not later in the afternoon. They said by midday they would give an update. That was as of the last update they gave yesterday. They had given us 2 updates. So with the last one, they said by midday we'll get to hear from the Commission. But what we have here, Andrew, this will be updated when we start getting the results, verified results, by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. These are the candidates that we have on presidential level. Andrew, we see Mr. Walia Kelvin Fube there, ZMP. We see Mr. Chansa Given Mwenya of MEE. We see Mr. Chungu Xavier. You see why he is in black and white, because he had withdrawn. He had officially withdrawn. We have Hakainde Hichilema, who is UPND. We have Harry Kalaba, who is Citizens First. We have Given Katuta, who is an independent, and Kunda Howard of Zawapa on the side.
Others are SP leader, presidential candidate Fred Membe, NRP UP presidential candidate Brian Mundubile, OPP presidential candidate Mushimba Brian, DU presidential candidate Njovu Akem Anthony, CDP presidential candidate Pule Daniel, NFP presidential candidate Siamnene Ritual, and LM presidential candidate Silumbe Richard. Among these, one of them will become Zambia's next president.
Yes, the results will be flowing in, and we'll definitely be updating this as they will be announced by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. As for now, is why you see everybody is at 0, but obviously numbers will begin to change, and percentage will reflect what the Zambians have had to say on whom they want to lead the country. Now, one thing we got to see this year, Andrew, is delimitation. With delimitation, we saw the addition of 70 new constituencies. And with that happening, we moved from 156 constituencies in 2021. And let's just look at that, old constituencies, and looking at the former structure as of 2021, the 156 we are seeing in Central Province, Copperbelt, Eastern, Luapula, Lusaka, Muchinga, Northwestern, Northern, Southern, and Western. So plus 70 new constituencies, we saw it go to 226. That expansion was 44.9%.
Previously, Central Province only had 16 constituencies. An addition of 8 has been added to Central Province. The Copperbelt had 22 constituencies. An addition of 7 has been added to the 22. Eastern Province had 18 constituencies, and 9 has been added. Luapula Province had 15, and 5 more has been added. Lusaka Province had 13 constituencies, 6 more has been added. Muchinga Province, Vida had 10 constituencies, and we're seeing that Muchinga Province, 6 more constituencies have been added. Northwestern Province had a total number of 12 constituencies, and we're seeing that 7 more have been added. We moved to another province, which is Northern Province. Northern Province had a total number of 13 constituencies, and now Northern Province, 6 more have been added, which brings the total to 19. Southern Province had 18, 9 more has been added. Western Province had 19, and 7 more have been added. And so we're seeing a birth of new constituencies. I was voting from a new constituency. Previously in 2021, I voted in Munali, and now Munali has been cut. And now I'm voting from Roma constituency. It was a shock for some of the people that came to vote because they are their own preferred, member of parliament that they wanted to vote for, and councillors that member of parliament that they wanted to vote for. But when I went into the booth, I could see some say, Sinimona member of parliament wanga, because the constituencies have been shifted and, your area has been added to.
A lot of sensitization had been called coming from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, so people could understand they did cry over that change, because some would register for a certain constituency because they know people there that they want to support. And when the case was different following delimitation, they did express how displeased they were with that development. Well, let's narrow it down to Western Province as we're looking at delimitation. When we look into the old constituencies, we'll get back to this and just understand the old constituencies into understanding the new ones. Also, in case you're still confused, we'll make that clarity. But we are in day 2 of post-election. Election was yesterday. Day 2 is the counting of votes. And we have Kalombe Kapambwe, who is out in Luapula Province, just to give us an update on how the voting process is going right now. Kalombe, this is about 8:30 actually. This is 8:30 in the morning. What does Luapula Province look like with the counting of votes out in Manta?
Yes, apparently, like yesterday, I was very south in Mansa East as well as Mansa West, so the counting of votes was kind of slow in a number of polling stations, and the subsequent delivery in the voting center was something that we didn't see happening.
Well, we've seen some difficulties in getting to our reporter there.
We are trying to see what is happening in Bahati constituency. This is where we've actually seen a number of results being trooped in to ensure that the voting centers can get to
864 registered voters. It's got 68 polling stations and it's got 3 constituencies. And at the moment, our reporter is in Bahati. This is where the totaling center is, and now he's given us details of how the building up to the consolidated vote looks like in in Mansa district. Thank you so much again, Kalombe Kapambwe, for joining us. Obviously, later on, you give us details of how that is coming up. But let's quickly again look back, at delimitation and what new constituencies, have been built so far.
Now we narrow it down to Southern Province, Andrew. We look at 2021, where we saw old constituencies standing at 18. That is Chikankata, Mbabala, Dundumwezi, Katombola, Magoye, Wengwa, Momba, Pembas, Nazongwe, Choma Central, Gwembe, Kalomo Central, Livingston, Mazabuka Central, Monza Central, Namwala, Siavonga, Mapatizia. This received 9 new constituencies.
If it received 9, then it's got a total now of 27 constituencies, because previously it had 18. The new constituencies in Southern Province are Choma South, Kalomo South, Maramba, Monza East, Kariba, Iteji, West, Kazungula North, Magoye West, and Namwala East. But let's try again to speak with our reporter, Kalombe Kapambwe, who is up north, to get details of how the counting is going so far and how many more polling stations are remaining before the consolidated result is given by the totaling center. Kalombe Kapambwe, good morning. We're getting details from you on how the count is going. Are you able to give us more details with regards to this?
A very good morning to you. It's a pleasure to be on as we get to participate in the electoral process, as we are also key stakeholders in this whole entire process. So yesterday, in my preamble, I did make mention that I was predominantly domiciled in Mansa East as well as Mansa West constituencies, trying to see how things are unfolding from the closure of the polling stations following the opening of these respective polling stations at exactly 6 hours. So the counting was happening in various polling stations, but what we did see, what we did note in Mansa East as well as Mansa West is the slow the provision of transport to ferry the ballots to the totaling center at Mansa College of Education and the other polling totaling center. So as of now, we have actually gotten a few of what is happening in Bahati constituency, because following the delimitation exercise, we have now 3 constituencies. So in the background, you are able to see that some ballots, this is when the results have actually trooped in at Mansa Council West House, and we are yet to be given these results by the ECZ to ensure that people get to understand what is actually coming through from various polling stations across Bahati constituency. But with me right now, I've actually gotten hold of one polling station in Rwankoko for the presidential results, and we have KPF that got 9, given got 3, Mr. Xavier Chungu got 2, Mr. Haga Indeishdema got 100, Mr. Harry Kanaba got 17.
I hope you can hear me. Mansa district has a total number of 68 polling stations, with the total registered voters currently standing at 44,864. So far, do we know how many polling stations have made results available to the totaling center? Kalombe Kapambwe, do you know how many of the polling stations have made available the results to the totaling center?
Okay, so as of now, at least 3 polling stations have made available the results to the totaling center. And as looking at what is happening in the background, the recent results have just trooped in, and obviously the presiding officer will be able to give out these results before the monitors go as observers that are at Council Rest House to ensure that they get to understand what is coming through from the respective polling stations. We've actually seen a steady improvement with regards to the pace at which these results are actually coming in compared to yesterday, because there was counting in the respective polling stations and trying to ensure that everything is actually put in order before they are taken to the respective totaling centers. So we've actually seen a steady flow of results in 2 polling stations, and as of now we've just kick-started the tour over the totaling centers, and this is the first one that we are doing in Bahati constituency, and this is the few that we get. It is all cool as people get to await the results being ferried into the respective totaling centers.
All right, thank you so much, Kalombe Kapambwe, for giving us details of what's happening up north in Luapula province.
It seems like a slow start on that side if we're looking at only 3 polling stations having sent ballot boxes to the totaling center. It does look like it's a slow start out of the many that we're seeing, over 68. That's where we're standing at now. But we'll get to catch up with more of our reporters. For now, let's get an understanding of how things are going in the Copperbelt province. We have Respite Kaoma, who is joining us with an update from Ndola Central. Respite, good morning. Tell us how it's going in Ndola Central with the counting process.
We're getting what's happening in Ndola Central there and generally the Copperbelt with our reporter Respite, a very important province when it comes to every election cycle, because of the fact that Copperbelt has been recording the highest number of eligible registered voters, and it's one of the swing provinces in terms of what the presidential candidates are looking to. All the 13 presidential candidates want to have a bite, at the over 1 million registered voters that are on the copper board. Respite, we hope we can get you better now. We're asking about how, so far, the results are coming up.
Okay, so results are coming in, but the issue is the process itself is a little bit slow because the ballot boxes started arriving last night around 21 hours. And when we look at Ndola Central, it has about 74 polling stations. And as we speak right now, only 6 polling stations have been announced so far. So that is the status quo at the moment. But however, with that said, the situation is calm. It's peaceful. Just starting from yesterday when the voting started, the situation was just calm and peace also. So that is what is currently prevailing here in Ndola Central. So as we speak, various stakeholders in the war, in the school, where the counting of the ballot is taking place. So that is the status quo at the moment here in Ndola Central.
Let's get to this also, Respite. When we look at what we got to hear even from the Electoral Commission of Zambia yesterday in their update was admitting that some polling stations had to close later on in the day beyond 6 p.m. because they opened late. They had started with voting. People started voting late there. Could maybe the slow start that we're seeing from some polling stations be attributed to that fact that maybe most of them had opened late? They started voting late.
Yes, we had such reports, like in there is one Temwani where such reports were raised that the polling station happened to open a little bit late and it was delayed to close. So those are the factors that are leading to this. But however, the ECZ has assured stakeholders that have gathered here that they will make sure that the process is being done within a stipulated time. That is what they have stated, and stakeholders are patiently waiting and one thing we cannot run away from it is that there is that anxiety. There is that anxiety. We even saw one of the candidate, Mr. Emmanuel Mlenga. He even visited last night. He was even in the school just to see how the process is being done. So that itself clearly showed that there is a little bit anxiety building because people, they want to know the final results. People, they want to know who has won. So these are the issues that are obtaining on the ground here in Ndola Central.
You mentioned earlier on that Ndola Central District rather has a total number of 74 polling stations, and so far only 6 polling stations have made available the results to this totaling center. From the general overview of these 6 polling stations, how does the vote look like for the top contenders?
Come again?
You mentioned that only 6 polling stations have provided election results to the totaling center. From the 6 polling stations, how does the voter distribution look like without getting into the results? Generally, how does it look like? Where is it swinging towards the 6 polling stations?
Okay, actually, based on the 6 polling station, when we look at the numbers itself, it shows that people really indeed they did turn out to vote. But however, it's just the issues of the delays. But looking at the numbers, we can say numbers do not lie. We could see that there is a lot people that turn out to vote in this 6 polling station. Yeah, so that is what I can say for now, based on the data and the numbers that we are seeing from the 6 polling station. But however, the gap, because we are talking about 6 polling stations, and then we have got about 74 polling stations. That means we are remaining of about somewhere 70 polling stations that have not yet been announced. So it is a long way to go, I can say.
Well, thanks, Respite, for giving us details of what's happening in Ndola district. Quite a slow process, as explained by Respite, that only 6 out of the 74. It means that remaining 68 polling stations to have had their results get to the totaling center.
It seems to be the trend in most of these places that the process is kind of slowed down, and you would, like we were talking there, attribute it to the slowness in the extent in which they had to give, allocating the 12 hours, the full 12 hours that polling stations should be open. So if a polling station only opened at 10 in the morning, meant it was open up until 10 p.m. So that could affect the start of the counting of the votes as well. Well, let's move to the Eastern Province and get an understanding on what's going on there, as we have Samuel Kwawe joining us just to give us what's happening with Chipata Central as we continue with getting an update on the counting process, the second day with this electoral process. Well, Samuel, it is almost 9 in the morning now. What does counting look like in Chipata Central?
Well, thank you so much. Very cold in Chipata, about 15 degrees Celsius, but I was at Chipata Central Totaling Center early in the morning, and we had about I think 6 polling stations which had been verified and announced by the returning officer Ruben Simfukwe by around 7 hours. But right now I'm in Chipata North, where also the tutoring center and results are being announced here in Chipata North as well. So just behind me, this is the officials who are currently announcing results from different polling stations. We're talking about 66 polling stations, and right now we're talking about 12 polling stations which have been able to be announced. And a lot of staffs are here who have come from different polling stations so that they can have the results handed over. So that is what is currently happening right now. And in Chipata Central, we saw that the contestation is between the 2 candidates of the current president, Hakainde Hichilema, and the NRPU candidate, Brian Mundwire. So that's what we've seen, and most of the candidates have been getting votes which are below 5, most of them. And that is the trend at the moment which we're seeing. Even here in Chipata North, that is the trend we're seeing even at parliamentary level as well as at local government level. Those are the signs which we are able to see here.
It's good you mentioned that the trend at the presidential level is between NRPUP is Brian Mundwile and UPND's Hakainde Hichilema. But what about the member of parliament level? Because I think Eastern Province has been quite a peculiar province, Vida, when it comes to the voting pattern, especially when it comes to voting for members of parliament. How does it look like from the polling stations that you have observed so far and have been sent to the totaling center?
Yes, Andrew. If you look at the voting pattern for Eastern Province, even from the 2021 elections, even coming into this particular election, as you rightly said it is very interesting. But what we've seen in this particular election from the few polling stations in airport to see here and being verified and announced by the Electoral Commission of Zambia is that we've seen NRPUP having an upper hand in terms of the votes which have come so far. So we wait for the official results to see which particular candidate. In Chipata Central, for example, it's very interesting because we only have 2 candidates, because the other candidate for leadership movement withdrew from the race, and we only had two candidates of the NRP UP, Ruth Grant Piri, as well as George Mwanza of the United Party for National Development. So the choice for the voters were not diverse. It was only two people. They should make a decision between the two, and the race is very tight. And by the end of the day, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be able to give us verified results and who will emerge victorious. At this particular moment, we don't know yet. As from the official results from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. In further note, what we've seen is that also NRPUP is, having an upper hand in terms of the results which are being announced. But the official results have made the winner. We don't know yet. And this is where the former Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Benny Mtoro, had contested together with other candidates who are stood on independent as well as, the citizen first.
All right. Well, Samuel, we will definitely be getting back to you as counting of votes continue. For now, let's get talking to another one of our reporters as we continue with the updates. So we have one in Lukasha, and that's Angela. Angela is joining us from Lukasha just to give us an update on the voting process so far, the counting process so far, as this is day 2. Good morning, Angela. Here we are out in Lukasha at 9 in the morning. How is the counting process going?
Good morning, thank you. Votes are coming in slowly. We are having people coming from different polling stations bringing the votes, and ECZ is verifying the votes. Right now we have 12 that have been announced, though we do not have a consolidation yet.
So you've got 12 out of 88 that have been announced so far. Tell us how the flow of these results look like, not the actual results from the different polling stations, but how does it look like in terms of who is leading and who is not, especially the two top contenders that are coming from the results that have been announced, 8 out of the 88 polling stations. 12 rather.
So far we have Brian Munduwile for the NRPUP leading, followed by Hakainde Hichilema of the UPND.
Is it like that at the other levels of other positions, the member of parliament, councillor level as well as mayoral level? Is the pattern the same?
Yes, that's the same pattern that is going, except for one of the wards, Kapongolo ward, the councillor was unopposed. So for councillors, one of the councillors, we are unable to tell how it would have been in case of not being opposed. But for the rest of the other contestants, it's going the way Brian and Hichilema is.
What else do we have to know, Angela, in terms of what's happening in Kasama district, besides what you've told us? What else do we have to know?
I've noticed there's a bit of, I wouldn't say a bit of confusion in transport, but I think there's very slow communication in terms of transports, of ferrying back those that were in different polling stations, because from yesterday, around 22 hours, we only started receiving polling staff around 4 in the morning, somewhere there.
All right. Well, we'll get back to you and just get to understand as more of these ballot boxes make their way to the totaling center. That is Angela. Angela is out in Lukasha as she was giving us an update on how things are going. Angela Mtambo is one of our correspondents there. We have been taking a look at what has been the result of delimitation, Andrew, which we have now even speaking to some of our reporters. Some have been telling us what's happening in the newly delimited constituencies. And so with things having moved smoothly, let's just continue with taking a look at what it looked like, these different constituencies looked like in 2021 versus what we're seeing here with the addition.
But before we do that, let's maybe look at what again is happening in the eastern part of our country. As we speak to Emmanuel Nkata to give us details of what's happening in Chama Central. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for joining us on the Zambian vote. Give us details of how the vote count is going in Chama Central.
Thank you so much. I'm here at the Council Chamber, the Electoral Center for Chama Central Constituency. Chama Central Constituency has 40 polling stations. So far, the Electoral Center has received at least 3 polling station results or ballot papers. So behind me is some presiding officer, and this is a team coming from a different polling station, handing over the ballot paper and also doing forms to the returning officer here at Council Chamber, where is the Chama Central take it as a center for Chama Central. I mean, it's a totaling center for Chama Central constituency.
If I got you correctly, you said that only 3 polling stations have made available the results to the totaling center. If I got you clearly, you said that only 3 polling stations have made available results to the totaling center. We know for a fact that Chama district has a total of 40 polling stations. From the 3 polling stations that have announced their results as of yet, who is leading and who is following the leader?
The opposition, the main opposition, that is the National Restoration Party Unit for Prosperity, under the leadership of Brian Mundubile, so far is leading from where is political, I mean, totaling polling stations. So far from these 3, Brian Mundubile is leading, followed by Mr. Hakainde Hichilema.
3 out of 40. This is a slow start that we have seen from different parts of the country with the reporters that we've been talking to. But Emmanuel, here, maybe just let us know, what time did counting start in most of the polling stations that you were able to visit?
So yesterday I was at the Chama High School polling station. So the polling station there was closed at exactly 18 hours, but counting of ballot papers started around 19. So I'm sure Chama High School has 5 streams. So they started around 19 counting of ballot papers. Some streams ended counting the ballot paper around 04:05, somewhere there. So that is what happened here in some polling stations.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Out in Chama Central there, just giving us an update on how counting is going. Let's move to Luangwa and get an understanding from Mike Mwendechabe, who is joining us now as we continue with getting an update on the counting process. Mike, good morning. Give us more details on what we are seeing now out in Luangwa on this day too. Well, we should be connecting to Mike very soon and just get an understanding. He's in Feira, which is in Luangwa district. Yesterday, we got to speak to Mike Mandeshawe through the day, Andrew, as people were making their way out to vote. People managed to vote. And the closing of some of these polling stations, our reporters were able to give us that update. And even now, with the counting process, they are giving us those updates. Mike, let's just get an understanding now of what things look like in Luangwa district in Feira as counting is underway.
Well, to be specific, I should also make mention, Vida, to say, the voting process actually in most polling stations right here in Luangwa was able to be concluded at exactly 18 hours yesterday, and the counting process started immediately then by midnight heading to early morning around 01:02. A lot of polling stations were actually done with the counting process. Now here, the main challenge is that polling stations are far apart from each other. They are in far-flung places. So the big issue is really the transportation of moving these ballot papers from the various polling stations to the totaling center right here where I am at. As you can see, on my right-hand side, you can see to say the actually polling staff that are actually coming in, bringing the said results. So voting as well as counting is all concluded. I was able to talk to the district election officer, Mr. Grayson Sakala, and he did confirm to say indeed the counting process is also done. But even the counting process being done, we have a number of results that we've actually gotten that were verified as well as announced by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, coming from 17 polling stations. But it's just 17, we still have a number to go, because speaking of 46 in total, so we've only managed to get 17 polling stations out of the total, which is 46.
17 looks to be very progressive compared to the numbers that we've gotten from other parts of our country. But from these 17 constituencies, who seems to be leading at presidential level?
Well, I mean, Feira, this is the famous Feira that most people talk about. But in terms of the presidential level, NRPUP leader, Brian Mundule seems to be taking an upper hand in this particular election. But the Electoral Commission of Zambia are yet to consolidate the results. But speaking of the 17 polling stations that have been announced, Brian Mundule seems to be taking an upper hand. But not just him on the presidential level. We still have a number of contestants that are contesting the National Assembly position, of which we have one that is coming from the Socialist Party, another one we have Danford Mackay coming from the United Party for National Development, as well as Emmanuel Tembo, who is contesting under the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, which also seems to be taking a very, very, comfortable and upper hand in that National Assembly position. But the UPND are also coming up very much closely on the council chairperson position with, their candidate Loveness Banda seeming to be taking a very comfortable, or an upper hand on that particular position, which is the, council chairperson position.
Well, thank you so much for giving us details of what's happening in Luangwa District. Luangwa District Vida has a total number of 19,523 registered voters. It's got 46 polling stations. Impressively enough, I think it's one of the constituencies that districts so far that has received a number of polling stations that have been counted and have been sent to the totaling center.
Seems to be moving at an okay pace compared to what we've been hearing so far with our interaction with our reporters from across the country. Now, we have continued to speak to our reporters on this part, getting an understanding of how counting is going. And as Diamond Media will be updating the numbers as soon as the Electoral Commission of Zambia gives their verified results. So we'll be updating, especially we'll have a leaderboard that will be indicating to you. So that's something to look forward to. Going back to delimitation and what we saw just a comparison now, the addition of 70 new constituencies, Andrew, versus in 2021. When we narrow it down to Northwestern Province here, we had seen 12 constituencies in 2021 that were Chavuma, Kabompo, Manyinga, Mwinilunga, Solwezi East, Zambezi East, Ikelengi, Kasempa, Mfumbwe, Solwezi Central, Solwezi West, and Zambezi West. There was an addition of 7 new constituencies.
There was an addition of 7 new constituencies in Northwestern Province. 7 plus 12 comes 19. And the new constituencies in Northwestern Province include Kabompo West, Mufwashi, Munilunga East, Zambezi Central, Lumwana, Dongwe, and Solwezi North. Those are the 7 new constituencies that were created as a result of delimitation in Northwestern Province.
Let's take a look at Muchinga and what it looked like in 2021 before delimitation, the numbers they stood at with constituencies, and where we are now in 2026 post delimitation. So what we see in the former structure was 10 constituencies that included Chama North, Chinsali, Mafinga, Mfue, Nakonde, Chama South, Isoka, Kanchivia, Mpika, and Shiwangandu. They got an addition of 6 constituencies.
They got an addition of 6, and there was an expansion of 60%. And the new constituencies in this particular province, which is Muchinga Province, are Chilinda, Lutikila, Mpika South, Mkombwa, Mafinga South, as well as Mwenzo. Those are the new constituencies, and they'll have new members of parliament as parliament resumes seating.
Indeed. Well, let's now bring it to Lusaka and get an understanding of what we got to see as of 2021. Pre-delimitation, we were at 13 constituencies, which included Chilanga, Chongwe, Feira, Kawata, Lusaka Central, Matero, Rufunsa, Chirundu, Kafiwe, Chawama, Kanyama, Mandevu, and Munali. They got 6 constituencies added.
6 plus 13 is 19, and we did see an expansion of 46.2%. And the new constituencies here in Lusaka Province include Chilanga North, Kafue East, Roma, where I was voting from yesterday, Vida, Chongo West, Makeni, as well as Lima constituencies. Lima constituency, those are the new constituencies.
All right, let's move up north and take a look at Luapula and the additions that they got. Pre-delimitation, we saw that they had 15 constituencies. That's in 2021. Chembe, Chipili, Pambashe, Bahati, Milenge, Mambilima, Nchelenge, Chifunawuli, Chienge, Kawambwa, Luapula, Mansa Central, Mwansabombwe, Mwense, and Bangweulu. There was an addition of 5.
Instead of expansion by percentage, that was 33.3%. And the new constituencies here are Kalungwishi, Luongo, Mweru, Chifunabuli North, and Mansa East.
Okay, let's move over into another province here as we continue looking at the 10 provinces and what they look like. Eastern Province in 2021 had 18 constituencies, which included Chadiza, Chipata Central, which we were from talking about with Samuel Kwao, who's out in Eastern Province. They had Luangeni, Mkaika, Lumezi, Malambo, Kaumbwe, Petaoke, Sinda, Chipangali, Kasenengwa, Milanzi, Chesefu, Lundazi, Nyimba, Nsanzala, Kapoche, and Vubwi. An addition of 9.
An addition of 9 in percentage form, it's 50%. And the new constituencies in Eastern Province include Chadiza East, Chasefu North, Chipata North, Lusangazi Central, Nyimba North, Chama Central, Chipangali West, Lumezi South, and Malambo West. Those are the new constituencies, 9 of them in Eastern Province, Vida.
Okay, now we continue talking to our reporters, and we have now Ariston joining us to give us an update on the counting process. That is the part we're on. Ariston is in Monza Central. Ariston, here we are, 9:13 right now. What is the counting process looking like in Monza Central?
Okay, thank you so much, madam. Just now we have from yesterday around around 23. We started receiving the results from different polling stations. Then today in the morning, we have just updated by the electoral officer that about they have already collected about 20 from 20 polling stations. In Monza Central, we have 54 polling stations, and so far they have already announced about 20 polling stations. Then from these polling stations, the statistics are showing that there is the people have not turned out numbers to vote, because we can see that from 20 polling stations on parliamentary results, we have seen that the total member of parliament candidate is, hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hello?
Ariston, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
I can go ahead. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so according to the result we have collected, we have seen that only the total number of people who have voted 654. These people who have voted. And then currently now, Yvonne Shagan is reading with 6,080 votes from United Party for National Development. Then number 2 is Mainga Elvis, an independent member or candidate with 1,036 votes. Then the last one is Chiruma M. Hendrik from NRPUP with 400 votes so far. Then they told us that the turnout is somewhere 21%. Then now on the presidential, we have seen that so far the United Party for National Development candidates they have announced that United Party for National Development, a candidate Agandi Jerema is leading with 6,900.
Ariston,
Well,
there
just a report
is
there.
in Monza Central, where he has been giving us an update on what's happening with the counting of votes, the counting process, the stage that we are on now. This is day 2, Andrew. And just to again say this, that the Electoral Commission of Zambia insists that people wait for consolidated results. As these announcements are being made, we wait for consolidated results, which we'll be able to give you as Diamond Media, is why we are here in updating you with what's happening in our election this year. Up until the president-elect is announced, we will be giving you updates. We have people that are here to deliver, and also our correspondents out in the field. We have reporters all across the country, over 110 reporters across the country. That's thanks to the collaboration with BBC Media Action, Alliance for Community Action, as well as the Free Press Initiative. So we are making sure that you stay updated. Do stay tuned to Diamond Media. We have different people that come on here for the Zambian vote. It's been the Zambian vote that you have been watching since yesterday, 6 in the morning, Andrew, that we have been giving these updates, and that will not stop now. So do stay tuned to Diamond Media, as up next, we will be seeing Chimweka and Cheswa join you. Well, my name is Vida Mwale.
Yes, Madam Vida Mwale, thank you so much. Next up
It's
is
Vida. Vida is okay, Andrew.
Next up is the Double C, Chimweka and Cheswa. They're coming to give you updates of what's happening in terms of how the voting is going across the country. We'll take a break for now. Thank you so much for watching.
We are ready. Are you? We promised you the biggest election coverage, and we are delivering it.
Powered by advanced technology, we'll bring you election results as they happen through interactive maps, a live leaderboard, and data that makes every vote count.
From augmented reality to real-time graphics and data analysis, we're helping you understand not just who is leading, but why.
With over 100 journalists dotted across the country, giving results in real time, as announced and verified by the ECZ, and a team of experts that break down the numbers and the trends and give context to the results.
No fake news, mis or disinformation. We're plugging the social media gap, moving from polling station to the digital space where the young people are taking up the conversation. We are keeping you updated with the hashtags that are keeping this election running.
And in the maze of all the election craze, we still bring you perspective on the news desk.
Potiri ulililonse ndilofunika tikuonetsetsa kuti tikukubweretserani zonse zomwe zikuchitika pa chisankho chimenechi mu chilankhulo chathu. Kukuleterani zimenezi mu chilankhulo cha Chivemba, Chinyanja ndi Chitonga. Tikuonetsetsa kuti palibe wina aliyense emwakhalira mbuyo.
We're the biggest media network in partnership with over 40 radio stations dotted across the 10 provinces of Zambia. But also, we'll run you through the entire vote count right here at the National Results Center.
This is more than election coverage. This is Zambia's decision. From the first ballot cast to the final results declared, this will be the biggest election coverage ever, right here on Diamond Media.
We are ready. Are you? We promised you the biggest election coverage, and we are delivering it.
Powered by advanced technology, we'll bring you election results as they happen through interactive maps, a live leaderboard, and data that makes every vote count.
From augmented reality to real-time graphics and data analysis, we're helping you understand not just who is leading, but why.
With over 100 journalists dotted across the country, giving results in real time, as announced and verified by the ECZ, and a team of experts that break down the numbers and the trends and give context to the results.
No fake news, mis or disinformation. We're plugging the social media gap, moving from polling station to the digital space where the young people are taking up the conversation. We are keeping you updated with the hashtags that are keeping this election running.
And in the maze of all the election craze, we still bring you perspective on the news desk.
Potiri ulililonse ndilofunika.
are ready. Are you? We promised you the biggest election coverage, and we are delivering it.
Powered by advanced technology, we'll bring you election results as they happen through interactive maps, a live leaderboard, and data that makes every vote count.
From augmented reality to real-time graphics and data analysis, we're helping you understand not just who is leading, but why.
With over 100 journalists dotted across the country, giving results in real time, as announced and verified by the ECZ, and a team of experts that break down the numbers and the trends and give context to the results.
No fake news, mis or disinformation. We're plugging the social media gap. Moving from polling station to the digital space where the young people are taking up the conversation. We are keeping you updated with the hashtags that are keeping this election running.
And in the maze of all the election craze, we still bring you perspective on the news desk.
potiri ulililonse ndilofunika tikuonetsetsa kuti tikukubweretserani zonse zomwe zikuchitika pa chisankho chimenechi mu chilankhulo chathu. Kukuleterani zimenezi mu chilankhulo cha Chiwemba, Chinyanja ndi Chitonga. Tikuonetsetsa kuti palibe wina aliyense emwakhalira mbuyo.
We're the biggest media network in partnership with over 40 radio stations dotted across the 10 provinces of Zambia. But also, we'll run you through the entire vote count right here at the National Results Center.
This is more than election coverage. This is Zambia's decision. From the first ballot cast to the final results declared, this will be the biggest election coverage ever, right here on Diamond Media.
Ready? Are you? We promised you the biggest election coverage, and we are delivering it.
Powered by advanced technology, we'll bring you election results as they happen through interactive maps, a live leaderboard, and data that makes every vote count.
From augmented reality to real-time graphics and data analysis, we're helping you understand not just who is leading, but why.
With over 100 journalists dotted across the country, giving results in real time, as announced and verified by the ECZ, and a team of experts that break down the numbers and the trends and give context to the results.
No fake news, mis or disinformation. We're plugging the social media gap. Moving from polling station to the digital space where the young people are taking up the conversation. We are keeping you updated with the hashtags that are keeping this election running.
And in the maze of all the election craze, we still bring you perspective on the news desk.
Potiri ulililonse ndilofunika tikuonetsetsa kuti tikukubweretserani zonse zomwe zikuchitika pa chisankho chimenechi mu chilankhulo chathu. Kukuleterani zimenezi mu chilankhulo cha Chiwemba, Chinyanja ndi Chitonga. Tikuonetsetsa kuti palibe wina aliyense emwakhalira mbuyo.
We're the biggest media network in partnership with over 40 radio stations dotted across the 10 provinces of Zambia. But also, we'll run you through the entire vote count right here at the National Results Center.
This is more than election coverage. This is Zambia's decision. From the first ballot cast to the final results declared, this will be the biggest election coverage ever, right here on Diamond Media.
I have received National Assembly election results for Mandanga polling station number 2. And the results are as follows. Tommy of NRPUP 12 votes. Tommy of NRPUP 12 votes. Guarera Masuka Independent 147 votes. Guarera Masuka Independent 147 votes. Makai of the UPNG 257 votes. Makai of the UPNG 257 votes. A total of 12 votes have been rejected as invalid. 12 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total of 428 votes were cast. A total of 428 votes were cast. I have received National Assembly election results from Mandanga polling station number 3. And the results are as follows. Tombi Tombi of NRPUP, 12 votes. Tombi Tombi of NRPUP, 12 votes. Guarera Masuka, independent, 147 votes. Guarera Masuka, independent, 147 votes. Makai Makai of the UPNG, 257 votes. Makai Makai of the UPNG, 257 votes. A total of 12 votes have been rejected as invalid. 12 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total of 428 votes were cast. A total of 428 votes were cast.
This is 2 okay. Which one? This is 1. Which page 2? It's okay. Was in the configuration and all of this kind of okay. That is presidential.
So all these are wet. That's wet.
presidential, develop change.
I have received the results for the councillor from Mandanga polling station number 3 as follows. Lisulo Notulu of NRPUP 19 votes. Lisulo Notulu of NRPUP 19 votes. Muntengo Titus K, independent, 188 votes. Muntengo Titus K, independent, 188 votes. Kaomba Chinyama of UPNG, 211 votes. Kaomba Chinyama, UPNG, 211 votes. 9 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 9 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total of 407 votes were cast. 427 votes were cast. I have results for mayoral election, Mandanga polling station number 3, as follows. Lishebo Mwenda, SP, 7 votes. Mukubesa Nosiku, independent, 46 votes. Kashuba Betty, NRPUP, 49 votes. Kashumba Betty, NRPUP, 49 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe, UPND, 317 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe, UPND, 317 votes. 9 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 9 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid, and a total of 429 votes were cast. 429 votes were cast. I have received results from Mandanga polling station number 2. I have received presidential election results for Mandanga polling station number 2 as follows. I will concentrate on the top 2 presidential candidates, as 11 candidates have 0 votes. Mundulele Brian M, NRPUP, 36 votes. Mundulele Brian M, NRPUP, 36 votes. Hagainde Ijilema S, UPND, 415 votes. Hagainde Ijilema S, UPND, 415 votes. 7 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 7 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid, and a total of 458 votes were cast. 458 votes were cast. I have received National Assembly results from Mandanga polling station number 2 as follows. Tombi NRPUP 21 votes. Tombi NRPUP 21 votes. Guarela Masuka Independent, 161 votes. Guarela Masuka Independent, 161 votes. Makai of the UPND, 269 votes. Makai of the UPND, 269 votes. 5 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 5 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid, and a total number of 456 votes were cast. 456 votes were cast. I have received results for Mandanga polling station number 2 as follows. I have received mayoral results for Mandanga polling station number 2 as follows. Lishewomwenda SP 2 votes. Lishewomwenda SP 2 votes. Mukubesa Nosiku Independent 27 votes. Mukubesa Nosiku Independent 27 votes. Betty Kashumba NRPUP 79 votes. Betty Kashumba NRPUP 79 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe of UPNG 342 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe of the UPNG 342 votes. 8 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 8 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total number of 458 votes were cast. 458 votes were cast. I have received results for councillor election, Mandanga polling station number 2. Councillor election, Mandanga polling station number 2. Lisulo Notulu of NRPUP, 23 votes. Lisulo Notulu of NRPUP, 23 votes. Mutengo Titus K, Independence, 200 votes. Mutengo Titus K, Independent, 200 votes. Kaumba Chinyama of UPNG, 225 votes. Kaumba Chinyama of UPNG, 225 votes. 7 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 7 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total number of 455 votes were cast. 455 votes were cast. I have received results from Buwana Community School polling station. Buwana Community School polling station. Presidential results. I will concentrate to the top 5 who have gotten some votes and leave out the rest as they have gotten 0 votes. Silver Richard LM 1 vote. Silver Richard LM 1 vote. Member Fred SP 1 vote. Member Fred SP 1 vote. Kalabahari CF 1 vote. Kalabahari CF 1 vote. Chancellor given MEE 1 vote. Chancellor given MEE 1 vote. Mundubile Brian NRPUP 10 votes. Mundubile Brian NRPUP 10 votes. Haraide Chilema SUPNG 281 votes. Haraide Chilema SUPNG 281 votes. 3 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 3 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And 298 votes were cast. 298 votes were cast. I have received National Assembly results from Buwana Community School. 1. National Assembly results from Buwana Community School polling station number 1 as follows. Tombi NRPUP 8 votes. Tombi NRPUP 8 votes. Guarela Masuka Independent 94 votes. Guarela Masuka Independent 94 votes. Makai UPND 192 votes. Makai UPND 192 votes. 4 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 4 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total number of 298 votes were cast. 298 votes were cast. I have received mayor results from Buwana Community School 1. Buwana Community School 1 mayoral results. Lishebomwenda ASP 8 votes. Lishebo Mwenda SP 8 votes. Mukubesa Nosiku Independent 11 votes. Mukubesa Nosiku Independent 11 votes. Kashubabeti NRPUP 49 votes. Kashubabeti NRPUP 49 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe UPND 225 votes. Mubiana Siwasanyambe UPND 225 votes. 5 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. 5 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. And a total of 298 votes were cast. 298 votes were cast. Yeah. I have received councillor results from Bulwana Community School 1 as follows. Hamed Jamartha and Independent 31 votes. Morita Moyunda W NRPUP 43 votes. Morita Moyunda W NRPUP 43 votes. Mulemwa Nawa of UPND 220 votes. Mulemwa Nawa of UPND 220
But for the parliamentary results that we have Denwid Masumba for the Socialist Party, who got 28 votes out of the 36 polling stations that have been announced so far out of the total number of 88 polling stations under Mazaboka Central constituency. So Denwid Masumba of the Socialist Party got 28 votes, and we have a place on Hajintu, independent candidate under Mazaboka Central constituency, getting 54 votes, and we have Mr. Gary Nkombo, an independent parliamentary candidate, who got 4,577, and we have Mr. Vincent Lilanda of the United Party for National Development, who got 8,244 votes. So from an hour ago, we are not able to get the announcement of the results because it's like most polling stations have actually brought these results at the same time. So the Electoral Commission of Zambia, as you can see over there from the background, are trying to actually clear these polling stations so that they'll be able to announce. And we're just waiting for maybe a few minutes or a few hours from now for them to start to resume announcing. But as it is right now, they are still clearing the polling stations that have actually brought the results at the totaling center right here in Mazaboka town.
Well, that's quite interesting for this particular constituency. There's been a lot of focus as to what is going to happen, considering that Mr. Gary Nkombo was the former member of parliament from 2006 under the United Party for National Development, and this time around contesting as a UPND, as an independent candidate, whereas the UPND candidate was a mayor within that area. Are we seeing any reactions so far from the supporters of the candidates or the agents representing the candidates at the totaling center?
Just outside the Civic Center, I saw some good 10 minutes ago, I saw the supporters of the UPND candidate, Mr. Vincent Rilanda, putting on their party regalias, and they are just moving around the polling station, showing some excitement. And of course, just because their candidate is leading, they feel this is what is going to come out, even at the end of the announcement of these results. But where I'm standing, looking around at the totaling center, I can't see any of Gary Nkombo supporters, and the only people I'm seeing, those putting on the UPND regalia, who I suspect are the actually supporters of Mr. Vincent Rilanda. So you can see from their mood, they are happy, they are cheering, they are supporting their candidate, and they feel this is what is going to be even at the end of the announcements.
Mavis, would you say it is peaceful in Magoye East, and particularly at the Totaling Center that you are currently at? What's police presence like?
All right, maybe it's just to reiterate Cheso's question there. Hope you're able to hear us. Mavis? Okay, Mavis. So just was just trying to ask there around the security situation, because we did see during the filing in of nominations the chaos that happened when Mr. Gary Nkombo was filing in his nomination on that particular day, and there have been some concerns in between the campaign periods as well. But what is the mood like as of this morning ahead of the expected announcement of results?
So the mood is quite calm, and there are a lot of security, there are a lot of police officers right here. I think if I'm to approximate, I can say it's more than 100 police officers. So it's like every area. Maybe let me just try to turn my camera the other side. As you can see, those are police officers who are just moving around, trying to protect the area. And of course, if you look at what has been happening from the time of the nominations up to this time, just yesterday we had some supporters of Gary Nkombo that were attacked. They actually crashed in Nega Nega, and some of the supporters of Gary Nkombo were actually injured, and often is protected. And even from the supporters, I don't see any mood of those that will be coming to cause confusions or maybe to crash or to fight. I can say politically, for now, it's calm because we have security everywhere. The police officers are everywhere, and it's calm.
Would you say people are feeling the desire? Would you say there's a delay in terms of announcing of the results? There are people raising such concerns?
Through our radio stations, we've already started receiving callers from different parts of the constituents. Others are saying, why are they delaying the countings? Others are saying, what is happening? We need to hear the results as soon as possible. And if you look at the time now, this is 10:20, and we are just about 36 polling stations gone out of the 88 polling stations under Mazabuka Central Constituency. So of course, our listeners out there, the residents out there are asking questions to say what is happening. But if you look at the situation here, obviously the ECZ are telling us to say they are trying to clear everyone so that when they start announcing, it will be something that will not take long. It will just be something that will be within the shortest period of time, and they will be done with the results, they'll be done with the announcements. So those concerns are being raised, especially from the locals, from those that are into rural setup. They are raising those concerns because obviously they are not here to see what is happening. So with them, it's a cause for them to worry.
Now, Mavis, one thing is for a fact. A credible election needs to meet certain standards. And part of the process involves the electoral observers. We do see independent observers coming through from different civil society organizations, among other institutions. But we also see that the candidates get to be represented by certain agents that they do assign for this particular time of the year. Are we getting a transparent and credible period or process of this election, from the voting to the counting of the votes through the representatives of the candidates?
So yes, on that one, actually it is clear. So the Electoral Commission of Zambia actually put it clear. So from the time of nominations, from the time of the arrival of the ballots up to the time of the counting of votes, those that are accredited are supposed to come and actually witness every event. But from the look of things, right in the council chamber inside there, I only saw agents or officials from the ruling UPND. I only
saw number 3 with results as follows.
All the civil society organizations that are coming for monitoring. Unfortunately, I did not see any representative or any agent from the independent candidates since yesterday night, since the counting started.
Kashumba Betty, NRPUP, 52 votes. Siwasanyambe Muyana PND, 294 votes. 12 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid, and a total number of 376 votes were cast.
So for me, it's actually a fair treatment, a fair game, because everyone is accorded an opportunity to come and observe what is happening here. So the fact that they are not here doesn't mean that they were denied access.
Okay, looks like it's raining there. Mavis, we wouldn't want you to get soaked and get under the weather. So we'll wait for the official results. Thank you so much for giving us this update.
Thank you so much, and we'll keep you updated.
Well, the weather, Cheswa, that's been another major point for so many people from voting day yesterday. It was quite cold. I think a lot of people were expecting the weather to be a bit more friendly or friendlier for them. I mean, others prefer this time of the year as well because they can always wear something warm. But one of the concerns for some people is that this could have limited the presence of people in these queues getting to vote because they were trying to stay warm and perhaps staying in their blankets early in the morning.
Well, that's right. Even today, actually, was a bit. It's been quite chilly, and well, we hope our reporters are warm enough, and we hope you two are warm enough. But let's get to Chongwe. Jumwe can speak to Mutinta Hamusangwa. Let's see what Chongwe looks like this morning. Mutinta, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. Voting has been underway. Could you give us the latest in Chongwe?
Well, the latest in Chongwe is that right now, as we speak, more and more votes or ballots keep coming in. As we speak right now, they are counting for one of the polling stations that is from Chongwe Secondary School. So the results here, according to the observers, it's quite peaceful. However, there has been quite a number of issues that have been coming from Chongwe Primary School, where a lot of supporters were, as of last night, just sticking around as the votes were being counted. Now, as of this morning, about 31 out of 74 polling station results have been counted in. And there has been dynamics changes between different candidates. So just now from Chongwe Secondary School, we did notice to say NRPUP and the United Party for National Development and other political parties were represented by their supporters and other citizens rather who also came in to vote. However, as of for the 31 polling stations, what is to be noted is that the United Party for National Development has about 6,600 votes, while the United Party for National Development has about 2,020 votes. And also we have seen the Christian Democratic Party, who have not managed to get any score yet from Chongwe East. And also we have seen Citizens First Party, who have managed to get about 22 votes from Chongwe East. That is from the 31 polling stations that have been counted so far. So the next update that we are expecting is from when they hit 40, where we will get a fully compiled update on the 40 constituencies. But also news that is reaching here is that there has been some independent candidates from Chongwe West that have conceded defeat. They have accepted that they have lost the elections, and most of them during the interactions yesterday, they did indicate to say they will respect whatever the citizens choose, because at the end of the day, Zambia is for the citizens. So there also has been concerns of safety at Chongwe Primary School, where there was said to have been some conflicts here and there. The police officers had to rush there just to calm the situation. But as it's now, most parts of Chongwe East are currently calm. And we've also seen in the parliamentary seats that independent candidates and also the United Party for National Development candidate Sylvia Masebo, and we've also seen candidates from the NRPUP party who are participating in, or rather who are contesting for the parliamentary seat. However, what is to be noted is that as of right now, over 6,000 votes have gone to Anita Kamanga, who is an independent, and who is followed by Sylvia Masebo, the former earlier member of parliament for Chongwe before it was delimited. And also we have seen a number of wards like Chalimbana, and also other wards that there are councillors that have gone unopposed. Some of them, some of the independent councillors did drop out before the 13th of August 2026. And just to note that for Chongwe district, we only have 2 candidates. That is for the mayoral, which is Mr. Oscar Kalea and Mr. Sashi Frederick. And these 2 other ones that are the only ones competing for the mayoral seat in Chongwe district. And as now, following the results that were coming in from Chongwe Secondary School polling station, indicated that Mr. Frederick Sashi had over 200 votes, while Mr. Kalea acquired about 180 votes.
All right, Mutinta, maybe just for the sake of clarity, so let's just run through the numbers again in terms of who is where from the results received so far. So just take us through. I think you mentioned that the independent candidate is in the lead. Just run us through that again.
Yes, so for as it stands before they reach 40 polling stations, Anita Kamanga, an independent candidate, is currently leading with the parliamentary seat, followed by former member of parliament Sylvia Masebo.
Okay. Now, we've been asking this to the reporters that have given us the update in as far as the results they have so far. Are we already getting reactions? Because online, people have already begun to speculate and make their own conclusions even before the full results have been consolidated and confirmed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. But from over there, are we already beginning to see people celebrating or just giving any form of reaction to what the results stand at right now?
Well, the only reaction that we saw was the reaction that was at Chongwe Primary School, where there was some bit of confusion between some supporters, suspected supporters of the United Party for National Development and from the NRPUP party with regards to the counting of the votes when they were counting those ends before they brought them here at the totaling center for them to be announced. So some of them are happy, others feel it's fair, it's unfair, that their preferred candidate is not leading. Yes.
Okay. Mutinta, how many police officers do you see where you are, and could you describe the security situation? Do people feel safe at the polling station that you are at?
Polling center, which is civic center of Chongwe. So here where I am, there is police presence, yes, even in the chambers where the announcement for the votes is taking place. There is a heavy police presence, and also just to note that at the gates, the entrance of the council, there is security as well to ensure that each and every individual that enters into the civic center is accredited to be at this place, to be available for the counting of the votes. So most of the people that are within are either people that work from the council, observers, ECZ officials, or the media.
All right. Mutinta, thank you so much. Coming through from Chongwe East constituency, she's at the Civic Center actually, which is the totaling center for Chongwe district, and that's where the results will be coming through from. Remember, we'll be speaking with more of our reporters to get the latest updates, and also soon to be crossing over to the National Elections Results Center, which is at the Mulungushi International Conference Center, beg your pardon, and that is where the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be updating the nation on what the results are at presidential level. They'll be giving it for the first time for this year's election in a bit, and we'll be here to cover that live. Now, we've taken a look at Mazabuga district and heard what's happening around Mazabuga Central constituency. Obviously, a lot of attention and focus has gone there because of one of the candidates, Mr. Gary Nkombo, who was a former member of parliament, but different dynamics now, seeing that the UPND have fielded a different candidate, somebody who was mayor within the district. We've also taken a look at what's happening from Chongwe, where we have the former member of parliament in Silva Masebo, another well-experienced seasoned politician trailing so far from the results. Now let's shift attention to Munali constituency. This is another very interesting constituency here in Lusaka province, and we have a reporter, George Samuel Piri, to give us the update. George, good morning. Last time we got an update from you, we saw that the results were coming through to the totaling center, which
votes were cast. 356 votes were cast.
But as you can see behind me, from some of the things that are happening right now, the ballot boxes are just arriving from the different polling stations around Munali constituency. I did have a word with the returning officer here, Christine Siasia Talime, and she did get on to mention how that right now the totaling center here doesn't fully know the numbers that are coming in because the ballot boxes elsewhere haven't yet been picked and some are still concluding the counting process. So it is too early to tell, according to them, what the numbers currently look like. And of course, with some conversations from the ones who are entering the official ballot boxes to just kind of get an understanding of how the candidates are performing in this particular constituency. Still nothing coming out of there. It looks like it's actually quite difficult to just get word in relation to candidates and how they performed in the different wards. And I'll give an update briefly on the ballot boxes that have come through so far. But again, Chimanga, it is quite saddening because I haven't been given numbers, despite consistently going back and forth with the returning officer, despite consistently going back and forth with some of the polling staff. I still haven't been given the numbers. So it's something that is a bit worrisome, but so far, we have received ballot boxes right here at Minani, Boys Secondary School, from Tindere Preschool, from Chainda Catholic, as well as from Chitukupo. Now, these are the three that have given out of the rest. We haven't yet received ballot boxes coming through from Chamba Valley, from Vera Chiluba, where I was prior, where counting started much early because counting of votes started a little after 1840. So it's kind of confusing as to see why the ballot boxes are not yet here at the totaling center. Pounder Square, stage 2, also where I was yesterday, where voting did start much earlier. The ballot boxes haven't yet come through. Lyndhurst as well, Mango Grove, NRDC, Divine Christian, and Kapiliomba. Now, I was informed by the returning officer that most of these polling stations, the ballot boxes haven't even started off to start coming through to the totaling center. And so far, they don't have as much information as possible when it comes to the numbers so far. But all they know is that the ballot boxes are coming in. Just about 45 minutes ago, I did get to see some ballot boxes coming in. And as you can see, if you take a look to my right, to my left, I beg your pardon, those are the ballot boxes that came in between 30 and 45 minutes ago. So it's a lot of things that are currently happening now, but the concern from me as well as other journalists from media houses is why they aren't revealing some of the numbers and what's happening within these polling stations.
Now, George, those are just less than 10 polling stations that you talk about. I mean, there's over 160 polling stations in Munali.
In the Saka district.
Yeah. Is there any notable aspiring candidates that have come to the totaling center there raising concerns, irregularities, the election observers? Are there any irregularities that they're raising? And also, what is the police presence and security situation like?
Well, Cheswa, I haven't seen any from any of the parties per se come to raise concern. There haven't been any political players come through to raise concern, or any notable figures. If you can see behind me, you can be able to tell some of the faces. But majority of the faces that are here are polling staff. Majority of the faces that are here are police. And you asked about police presence, it's pretty heavy because just when the ballot boxes came through, there were multiple police officers that were surrounding the trucks that were coming through with polling staff as well as the ballot boxes. So it's heavy police presence. And one thing that's notable right here at Munali is how peaceful the whole process has been through and through. I do remember, of course, between 1 and 2 a.m., there was a little bit of confusion in one of the streams that I was in with how the counting was going, but because of the police presence in the area, they were able to regulate that as quick as possible. Because the process in itself is quite taxing, so it's very human-like to make mistakes. But through and through, with the multiple agents and election observers, they had to ensure that the process is transparent and also very, very clear through and through. So the police here have been very helpful. I think in most of my interactions with police officers, these so far are the most friendliest and professional police officers that I've interacted with, especially in Munali constituency. But we still await more ballot boxes coming in, and hopefully more notable political figures will be able to come in to just come and check in on what is going on. But as it currently stands, this is what is going on at Munali Boys Secondary School, the totaling center for Munali constituency.
Now, George, before we let you go, you did mention that the ballot boxes were arriving just about some 30, 45 minutes ago. Have we seen consistent presence of the observers and monitors, especially those who are representing the candidates, for the sake of transparency and everybody feeling that they are a part of this process? Have we been able to still see them present from the time the voting took place and the results were being counted to the point where the ballot boxes are arriving at the totaling center?
I will say there has been consistent presence from the different political parties, representation from the NRPUP, from the UPND, from the RP, and even independent observers were coming through, representing some of the independent candidates. But even more so, the EU Election Observer Mission is here. They were just seated right behind me. I'm just trying to paint a picture here. They were just seated right behind me, the EU Election Observer, and they are moving and also interacting with the returning officer, interacting with the election agents, just trying to understand how the voting process is going like so far. So the EU Election Observer Mission is here as well. There are different observers away from just the political players. The CCMG is still here from yesterday as well. Action Aid is still here from yesterday. And I have seen a whole lot more. But considering the fact that there are quite a lot of organizations that are being represented here, it's quite difficult to ascertain how many observers from different organizations are here so far. But these are the names that I can be able to give from the election observers that have come through. One thing that still stands out is how that even the EU Electoral Observer Mission is impressed with how the process is being handled. They feel it's very fair. I did stand as they were having a conversation with the returning officer, Madam Christine, and one of the things that they did engage them on is how the process is going, and if they had any trouble around that, and it was responded to by the returning officer, how that they have been successful in maintaining the peaceful voting process and also the counting. But what they're currently waiting for, the ballot boxes and the confirmations just to come in from the polling stations. And the EU Election Observer Mission did note that this whole process is quite clear and it's very fair so far. So they're actually impressed and they have given a salute to how this process has been handled in Munali constituency.
Well, George, with how you are painting a picture of where the EU observers were sitting, hopefully you're not planning a personal trip to Europe while there.
Well, that's George Piri in Munali, Chimweka. Munali constituency, again, Chimweka, is a very interesting constituency. We obviously expecting a new member of parliament. The fact that the former lawmaker there decided not to contest in Munali, Honorable Mike Mposha, former minister, is contesting elsewhere. And so perhaps we are looking at other members of parliament, aspiring members of parliament, taking up Munali as a constituency?
Well, certainly for Munali constituency, we do see Mr. Thomas Sipalo, who is not contesting for the first time. In fact, from the 2021 general election, he came out second, just a few votes away from the winner at that particular time, who was Mr. Mike Mposha, who you've rightly mentioned, now moved to Malambo district to contest from there. And many have seen him as a possible favorite for this particular election, but he's not the only candidate there. We see the likes of Mr. Crispin Chinda from the Tonse Alliance. He did not stand under the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. Instead, he stood under the Resolute Party, who have the symbol of the bag. We know that the general messaging has been around the light, the lamp, pe lampi as they call it. But what we tend to see is that there's the bag there as their symbol. Many have also seen him as a favorite within the constituency, and also owing to the fact that it's not his first time aspiring to be member of parliament there. In 2021, he also did aspire to be member of parliament. He was not adopted by the Patriotic Front at that particular time, but still decided to rally behind the adopted candidate by the Patriotic Front. But look, what we also see from this constituency is a number of independent candidates, the likes of Obi, Chomba, we get to see more people who have decided to contest for this particular seat on that particular independent candidature. And what stands out from that is just the interest of the people who want to serve the constituency. And it's not just at parliamentary level, but you also see from local government level, those who are contesting to be councillors, quite a number of wards within Mnali constituency. You see that it's quite a wide constituency covering a number of areas. You're looking at areas such as Kaunda Square, you're looking at parts of Chainda, you're looking at areas such as Kalingalinga. So you see that it gets to move around different parts of Lusaka, and you have different communities who have different incomes, different statuses in terms of their income levels. So it creates quite a number of dynamics that could lead to who exactly will win for this particular seat, or rather seats actually.
Very interesting perspective there you give, Chimweka. Now, just to put people up to speed with some of the things that were coming out of the press briefing yesterday by the Electoral Commission of Zambia at the Results National Totaling Center at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. The Electoral Commission of Zambia yesterday, Chimweka, brought up quite a number of the issues as far as what people shouldn't do when they were voting. And part of the things that we're bringing out is taking of pictures inside the voting polling stations and so on. And so they brought up quite a number of things. But also they did tell the public that they will be updating the country in press briefings in each day. And so today we expected, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is expected to give a press briefing in as far as the results are concerned. The electoral officer did, the chief electoral officer, Mr. Kasaro, did emphasize on patience and calmness, but also that the results were going to be given because there were also, remember, polling stations that were closed very late. So automatically those hours were extended. And so we have been able also to see that some results taking quite a while to be transported to the totaling centers from the different constituencies, being collected and taken to the totaling center. It's been taking quite a while, but it will be good to see what the results will look like, especially in Munali and surrounding areas.
Yes, definitely, Cheso. And soon we'll be crossing over to the National Elections Results Center for the update from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And we'll be live right here on Diamond Media to give you the latest from that. But for now, let's get more information coming through from the polling stations, the totaling centers of the various constituencies. And right now we focus on Mapatizia, where we have Natasha Siamwela. Good morning, Natasha.
Morning, Natasha. Morning, yours.
We are very well. We hope that trust that you're well as well. And we also hope that the situation is going quite well over there at the totaling center. What are you able to tell us regarding the situation? We can see already from your background, this police presence there. We're seeing some people mobilizing just right next to the entrance there. What is coming out from Mapatizia there right now?
Mapatizia at the voting center, the counting of results is ongoing. At the moment, since yesterday, we've only announced about 30 polling stations out of 78 at the moment, but still, they are still ongoing.
And let's look into the candidates. I think one of the famous terminologies when people think of Mapatizia is the famous Mapatizia formula. What has the situation been looking like in terms of the candidates being represented through the different agents and also making sure that the process altogether is transparent?
There are agents. Each candidate has an agent. There is transparent, the reading is kind of a bit higher. But I'm sure there is transparent because security is there and people are doing what they're supposed to do.
Natasha,
and we're still waiting it comes.
Yeah. Well, Natasha, so after the voting closed last night, have you been able to speak to any people there in the surrounding areas in terms of the anxiety to waiting for results? Are they anxious to hear the announcement of results in Mapatizia?
Yes. People are very anxious to hear the results from Mapatizia, looking at the competition they had, and they did want their candidates to win as they chose them for better Mapatizia.
Okay. Natasha, thank you so much for this update. We'll be back to you for more information as the results begin to trickle in from the different districts of Zambia. Cheswa, we're looking at 226 constituencies altogether, and people are quite expectant as to what exactly is going to happen. 116 districts in Zambia, 226 constituencies altogether. So there's a lot of anticipation that people have as the results get to be announced. And remember that as Diamond Media, we are bringing to you the results confirmed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. We understand also that through the age of social media and the digital space, so many speculations have already emerged. So many things are being said online. People are beginning to celebrate. People are beginning to declare themselves as winners even before the Electoral Commission of Zambia gets to do so. But we as Diamond Media will give you the verified updates and facts coming through from the Commission who are mandated to do just that.
We've got over 100 correspondents across the country giving us the details, and now we go over to the Copperbelt province in Kitwe. Zolanji Gondwe is on standby. Let's get to hear what's happening in Kitwe. Zolanji, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We just want to get what's going on as far as vote counting is concerned. What's the latest you could give us this morning?
I will then proceed to announce the top 3 as the remaining 10, bottom 10, have scored 0 votes. Kalabahari, CF, 1 vote. Kalabahari, CF, 1 vote. Mundubele Brian M, NRPUP, 44 votes. Mundubele Brian M, NRPUP, 44 votes. Hagainde Ijilema S, UPND, 309 votes. Hagainde Ijilema S, UPND, 309 votes. 3 ballot papers were rejected and 357 votes were cast.
Voters who mentioned that there's transparency because that was his first time to vote yesterday, and he's been a UK based, so he said the transparency is fair enough, and I can confirm to it that there's transparency. I had to witness quite a number of presiding officers that were doing the counting right after the voting ended yesterday at exactly 18:07. So there's transparency, and most people have been camping here wanting to know the way forward and what is happening, how the counting is going. It may seem slow, but it is progressive. It is happening.
Over 100 polling stations. Which ones have you been to, and how many of these polling stations have brought results at the totaling center so far?
So so far we have okay, I would just need to get statistics from our returning officer, because I may just mumbo jumbo the polling stations that have been here so far. So you bear with me on that one.
Oh, totally understandable, Zoelanji. But you did mention that the results are still coming in, albeit them being a bit slower than people would have desired. But what are the projections as to when we could possibly get some consolidated results? Are we looking at possibly before midday, or will people have to wait a bit longer, based off your observation to the pace at which the results are coming in? Zoelanji, all right, let me just ask the question again. Perhaps you didn't hear me. My question is around the consolidated results being announced. What could be the projection as to what time these results could be announced? Based off the pace you've noticed they are reaching the totaling center, are we looking at possibly before midday? Are we looking at a bit later in the afternoon today?
That gets to a total of 108. I would be lying if I say that we are going to be able to conclude at midday. We are likely finishing quite a bit late, but one thing that I'm certain of is that the process is likely completing today.
What we cannot ignore also is that we have a number of candidates and supporters who are doing their own private tabulations of these results. Of course, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will have to make an official announcement, but based off what people are able to record on their own, are we seeing people beginning to celebrate or begin to react to the information or numbers that they have on a personal level?
Okay, on a personal level, people are reacting to the figures that they are seeing, and I can tell that some are showing emotions even before they get to see the actual resultant. But what's most important is that we can never project results until the ECZ gets to announce the final part of it. So emotions are being expressed. I bumped into one named person that just expressed celebration over what they are calling their victory. So people are expressing emotion, and they are celebrating already before results get to come out. But the situation is okay. You are not able to tell if they are celebrating in a crowd because they are doing it quietly, but their faces can tell, and the language that they speak.
Right. Zoelanji, Kitwe district is not a small area. I mean, just looking at 108 polling stations, over 77,000 registered voters this year. That's quite a number of people. What has the mood been like, even building up to voting day? Some of your observations from voting day that could have an impact into what the results should be showing in a bit.
Okay, so when I arrived yesterday at exactly 04:53, I found quite a number of people waiting to cast their votes, and this also included police officers that had spent a night here in terms of ensuring security. So the turnout, you've mentioned, of over 77,000 registered voters as per, Kwacha constituency. But with this ward, we've got about 4 wards, which are namely Luvwa 1, 2, 3, and there's 4, which is called Malaiti. From my expectation, I expected people to turn out in huge numbers, but the turnout was a bit poor, I must admit. In the morning, between 5 and 10, we had quite a good number, but the queues started to shorten up at 10:30 as people had stopped coming through. So after that time, we had people coming in, but only maybe 2-3 at a time, and knowing that these were just families that came to cast in their votes. So according to the numbers that we have on ground as per registered voters, the turnout was quite poor on this part, but people came in to cast their votes.
So, Lanji, thank you so much for that update. Sure, so what stands out from Kitwe district, and I guess from different parts of Zambia so far, is a concern around the turnout. What we're getting from a number of people is that the turnout is about 50% or lower than 50%. Of course, the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be able to give the official and final statistics in terms of what the voter turnout from the over 8.7 million registered voters and what we actually got from the people that turned out. But through people's observations, just by looking at the crowds, people were expecting of quite more people attending, or at least being able to be part of the voting process. Yesterday, actually, last night, we did speak with Dr. Houston Chiputa, a historian and a political analyst, on this very program, and he made a similar observation. And according to him, through his experience and what history has shown, is that most times when you see a situation like that, it doesn't favor the opposition, it favors an incumbency. But it's still an election and anything is possible. And for now, all we can wait for the official results to be announced. We're expecting the first batch of them to be announced soon by the Electoral Commission of Zambia from the National Elections Results Center. But we continue hearing from our reporters who are coming through from the various polling stations. And right now, we get to Luangwa district.
Well, we've got Mike Mwendachabe, who is in Luangwa at the moment, and it'll be good to get also what the picture is like there in Luangwa, in Feira, constituency. One constituency, over 40 polling stations, over 19,000 registered, total number of registered voters. Mike, thank you for joining us. Could you give us an update as far as vote counting is concerned? Have you begun to get some results, especially at parliamentary level as well?
Of course, Ndanzi, and good morning to you. Just like I mentioned earlier in the morning, to say voting started last night, and it was, it was done actually in the early hours of today. But what delayed the process right here in Feira constituency is the transportation of results from various polling stations in order to bring them here at the Totaling Center, the council office. So that is what has delayed. But as we're speaking now, we've been able, or the Electoral Commission of Zambia has been able to announce as well as verify 20 polling station results, of which the NRPUP are taking an upper hand in these polling stations that have been announced. So we're still await. Remember, we have 46 polling stations, which means if 20 have been announced, which means we're remaining with 26 more to be announced. But still, just in the early hours of today, we had NRPUP councillor who has emerged victorious, but the Electoral Commission of Zambia is yet to announce. So the noise that is just coming in is celebrations both from the ruling party, which is the UPND, as well as the National Reconciliation Party. They're all celebrating, because they all think maybe their candidate is the one that is having the upper hand. So from the, from the 20 polling stations that have been announced so far, I can be able to make mention to say Brian Munduvile is taking a very, very good lead. For example, in Faraday Secondary School, in this one, President Hakainde Hichilema should be among the only 3 polling stations that he has been able to beat Brian Munduvile, of which he scored 133 votes against Brian Munduvile's 120. But that's not all. We have other votes that came from Kamanga polling station, where Brian Munduvile scored 129 votes against Hakainde Hichilema's 52. So talking of presidential level, yes, the zeros are coming in as usual, and surprisingly, where Xavier Tungu is even scoring more despite resigning from this presidential race compared to the others. So the zeros are coming in, but in terms of it being a 2-horse race between incumbent President Hakainde Hichilema as well as Brian Munduvile, they are coming in, but Brian Munduvile is taking the upper hand. But also we get to talk about National Assembly level, where we have Danford Makai of the United Party for National Development, but also not forgetting to say we have Emmanuel Tembo, who held this seat for the past 5 years. He came and he won this particular seat in 2021 under the Patriotic Front. Well, he contested this particular seat, and results are still being are counted, but from the 20 that have been counted so far, it is having an upper hand against Danford Makai of the United Party for National Development. But that cannot rule the UPND away from Vera constituency. We have the council chairperson position as well, where Loveness Banda, who is contesting under the UPND ticket, is taking an upper hand on the council chairperson race. So we have mixed reactions. We have supporters from both the ruling party as well as the opposition facing each other, actually, beating drums as well as singing, just to make sure to say the morale is, there here at the council office. And I'm pretty much sure by 14 hours or so, everything will be done here from presidential level going all the way to the councillors level.
All right, Mike, that's pretty interesting. I mean, we're hearing a lot of the noise in the background. It'd be nice to see a bit of what exactly is going on and how the celebrations are taking place. I hope you're able to hear me, Mike. I hope my mic is on enough for you to hear me, Mike. Mike? All right, Mike. We're hearing a lot of the celebrations in the background of the different people you mentioned are celebrating a victory. It'd be good to see part of how they're celebrating and who exactly is celebrating. If you could just help us with turning your camera a little bit so we see part of how the celebrations are happening from the supporters. But from what you mentioned, just to be clear, are you saying that, okay, this is us trying to see how exactly this is going from the totaling center there in Luanga district. Okay, we can see some people there, not quite sure if they are celebrating per se, but we can see that they are gathered. We can see some people in red. Obviously, should be from the United Party for National Development. But which is also another interesting thing to talk about, Mike. The National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. There's been a lot of talk around their supporters and what regalia they've been wearing to identify themselves. How have you been able to do that? Or how have they been able to identify each other during the process of the campaigns leading up to voting day yesterday?
Been much of an issue right here in Luanga. They're able to identify themselves because they definitely know each other. But still, even here we have members of the UPND who are making mention to say they shouldn't even stand close to each other because they might, end up, crashing and all of that. But it has been peaceful. It's very peaceful. Only a road is separating them as the other supporters, which are from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. No regalia, of course, but still they're managing to come up together. But the UPND as well, as you could see them, they're there in red and, well, full energy right here, full morale, waiting for official results or consolidated results to be announced for Fera constituency.
Which is the key, right?
Absolutely. Would you finally tell us if you've been able to witness any irregularities yourself in terms of what the election observers are telling you, any disruptions, any confusion there that's erupted in the last 24 hours at that particular polling station?
The number of polling stations. I was at Luanga Primary School. I was at Soweto polling station. I was at Kamanga polling station as well. A number of them. And voting was very much peaceful. And we should also say thank you to our men and women in uniform who have managed to make sure to say the environment is very peaceful. Because even here at the Tuteling Center, we have heavy security, of which I'm sure, very much sure to be specific to say, confusion won't erupt. But in terms of voting, no irregularities. Everything has been moving smoothly, and there's no party actually, or there is no stakeholder that is complaining of any illegal activities during this, election process from the beginning, from the time that the polling stations were open at 6 to the time that they were closed at 18 hours, and even after that, because there was transportation of those results. Now you know, to say Luangwa is a rural area, but still in Lusaka, 314 kilometers away from Lusaka, but still these polling stations are far apart from each other. But despite them being far apart from each other, the communication between the Electoral Commission of Zambia that are at the totaling center, together with those that were at different polling stations, was smoothly, and every stakeholder, I'm sure, did understand why the results were delayed or have delayed, despite Luangwa only having about 17,000 voters, but still reaching up to now with only 20 polling stations still counted. But every stakeholder understands and they agree to say this is the situation they are in, and they're fully committed, still very much awake from 06 till now. They're still able to ask for clarification where they are not sure and all of that. So it has been peaceful. The men and women in uniform as well are very much peaceful. So we're very much safe here. We're very much safe.
All right, Mike, before we let you go, obviously as results get to be officially consolidated and confirmed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, it obviously reflects the will of the people within Luangwa district. And they obviously vote for a candidate or candidates that they feel will address the issues that are pertinent to them within that particular area. What has stood out as some of those needs that the people of Luangwa district urgently need to be attended to that could influence how they voted yesterday?
Well, there are a number of things that influence the voter decision, and this is in regards to conversations that I've had with a number of voters that exercised their democratic right yesterday. And among the issues that are very much important here that were raised are the issue to do with human-animal conflict. Now, to say Luangwa is in Zambia actually, and these are issues that happen more frequently. So most of the voters that voted yesterday were actually looking for a leader that will make sure to say will come and address these issues. The other issue is, of course, the road network right here in Luangwa. Now, we know Luangwa is in hills, so it's very difficult to move. So they're calling upon the leaders that are to be elected a few hours from now to make sure to say they address these issues. And the other issue as well was that Luangwa was known, or the major economic factor in Luangwa was fishing, but they're complaining to say fish is done now in Zambezi River, because on my right hand we have Zambezi River and on my left hand we have Luangwa River, which are meeting at some point. But they're complaining to say both sides there is no fish, making life very difficult, or making the livelihood very difficult, because most of them were actually surviving on fish. So they're calling upon these very politicians, these very candidates that are contesting these positions to make sure to say maybe they can just bring an industry away from fishing, because these are issues to do with climate change. Now they're calling upon different issues so that they can have meaningful development, they can have other economic ventures that they can venture in away from fishing. So those are three key issues that I can make mention to say, yes, these are the things that influenced the voters' mindset yesterday as they were voting. But also, before you even let me go, Chimweka, is that, Federal constituency is a constituency that has never been won by the UPND. So most people are still optimistic to say maybe the results will get to change as the counting and verification process goes on by the UPND. This is a constituency that has been held for a couple of times by the Multi-Party for Democracy, which is the MMD, and from there it shifted to the Patriotic Front, and from the Patriotic Front now it seems it will be going to NRPUP. We are what it seems, so I'm not saying it will be going to NRPUP, but that's what it seems like. But also managed to talk to some UPND members, and some of the issues that they have highlighted, and due to the poor voter turnout that has been experienced here as well, is that the issue that was a very hot topic back then, and this is the issue to do with the adoption process, as they're making mention to say some they could have voted, but the candidate that was adopted wasn't indeed their preferred candidate.
Mike, thank you so much for giving us this update. The Zambian vote continues. It's 11:15 a.m. Cheswa. what we got from Mike is that there's a possibility of results coming through around 2 p.m. today, based off the pace at which the results are heading to the totaling center there. But like you mentioned, we're already seeing some celebrations already happening around that particular area, the totaling center. And well, we'll see what the celebrations will be like when the final result gets to be announced at the different levels of the election positions, elective positions.
Stay with us here on the Zambian Vote. Now we turn our focus to the delimitation process, Chimweka, that we did start to look at earlier on, and we would like to tell you what the constituencies look like. And of course, we start with the Copperbelt province, and it will be good to tell the people, Chimweka, what were some of the old constituencies and what are the new constituencies, what really should people be expecting?
Well, let's look at 2021. If we're focusing, well, this is of Central Province, what we have here. In 2021, we see that there were 16 constituencies. There's been an addition of 8 constituencies, bringing it to a total of 24. But from the initial 16, we're looking at Katuba constituency, we're looking at Chisamba constituency, Iteji constituency, which was recently moved, should be under, if I'm not mistaken, Southern Province. Kabwe Central, we got to see that being part of the initial constituencies. Mkushi South, Mumbwa, we get to see Lufubu, we see Serenje, we see Kembe, we see Chitambo, we see Bwacha, we see Kapirimposhi, Mkushi North, Nangomba, Muchinga, and Mwembeji. So these are the 16 constituencies as of 2021. But let's focus on 2026 with the 8 added constituencies.
Yes, I mean, there's 8 more added constituencies in this part of the country. You've got Kembe West, there's Bwacha South, Mkushi South, Nkundalila, you've got Mwomboshi, Kapirimposhi West, Mumbwa West, and Mwembezi West. These are the 8, and this is what the structure looks like in 2026. We've got our correspondents, of course, that have been giving us what's coming out of these new constituencies as well as the odd constituencies here on the Zambian Vote.
That's right. We can take a look at another province, looking at the differences and the additions from 2021 into 2026. And what we also get to see is that from these added constituencies, we've seen a number of aspirants at parliamentary level aspiring to be members of parliament and getting to speak with the electorate. And right now we're going to focus on Nchelenge in Luapula province and looking at some of the candidates who are contesting this year around. And on the ballot there was Chabala Justin. I believe that's Justin. I always get confused with the Justin and Justine. But I believe that should be Justin from the Resolute Party, which is under the Tonse Alliance. There's also Chishiba Jacob, an independent. We get to see Monta Godfrey from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, as well as Mulwanda Leslie from the United Party for National Development. Now, so it's also worth noting that in some of these constituencies, we see that the Tonse Alliance, who are pretty much one alliance, we're fielding 2 candidates. So we have 2 candidates coming through from one alliance. And this is one of those constituencies in Mweru here, where you see the Resolute Party as well as the NRPUP fielding in candidates. And some concerns that have been raised that this could split the vote, especially for the opposition in these areas. We've seen it happen in Lusaka as well, areas such as Chawama, among others. On the Copper Belt, we also have seen this get to happen where you have the Tonse Alliance fielding candidates from the 2 different political parties, the anchor political parties of this alliance. So it's yet to be seen what type of impact this will have in these constituencies. And more so, it will be telling on the strength of either the party, the presidential candidate of that party, or even just the candidate himself or herself. How strong have they been that even through a divided vote in their constituency, they'll probably have to get more votes than the other.
Well, we await official results in this particular constituency. Over 45,000 registered voters, and there are only 4 candidates. It'll be good to see who takes lead in terms of percentages there with the parliamentary race. But let's go to Bangweulu and let's see what the aspiring members of parliament, let's see who's been aspiring to be a member of parliament in this part of the country.
Well, we see that the Zambia Must Prosper party is represented. And I remember during the presidential debate when Mr. Kelvin Fubebwalia, it's actually Kelvin Fubebwalia, KFB as is popularly known, was asked about fielding candidates. Somebody from the audience asked about that, and he did clarify that they actually have candidates contesting at parliamentary level in some parts of Zambia. And I guess this is one of those constituencies, Bangweulu constituency. We have Mr. Moses Chavala there. We have an independent candidate, Mr. Ruben Chama, Mr. Derek Chanda of the Citizens First. The Citizens First, quite interesting because the presidential candidate for this party was once a member of parliament in Luapula province, the same province that Bangweulu constituency is found. We also see the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity being represented by Mr. Anthony Kasandwe, and the UPND have had fielded in Mr. Happy Mampa. So it's going to be quite interesting seeing 5 candidates here competing for that position of Member of Parliament for Bangweulu.
There's 71,364 registered voters in this constituency. We await the official results, and we will be, of course, looking at who has gotten what in this election. But let's move now to Chifuna Wuli, and let's see the aspiring members of parliament in this constituency.
We see Mr. William Kaluba of the Christian Democratic Party, being led by Apostle Dan Pule, who, by the way, says is very confident of the presidential vote in this year's election. They managed to field in a candidate there, Mr. William Kaluba. The UPND fielded Mr. Peter Kapala. Of course, this is going to be interesting because Mr. Peter Kapala, we do remember, engineer Peter Kapala, being a former cabinet minister, was Minister of Energy, and eventually was transferred to Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries. So it gets quite interesting to see what will happen from this particular constituency here. For the Socialist Party, they had Ms. Patricia Lunsonga, and from the looks of things, the only female candidate among the 4 here. And we have Mr. Edward Mpeswe, who is from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity.
Well, let's now go to Chifunavuli North, and let's see what candidates you have there. There's 27,118 registered voters, and we await the official results as verified by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. But these, Chimweka, are the aspiring candidates.
Here we are. We have Mr. Raphael Kauseni from the Citizens First Party. We have Mr. Bruce Musunga from the Socialist Party. The United Party for National Development have Mr. Justin Nkonge. It will be interesting to note the history of Mr. Justin Nkonge for those who might not be familiar. For those who understand it, they realize how interesting this is. So Mr. Justin Nkonge was from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party was the party that Mr. Harry Kalaba was presidential candidate of in 2021. He should have been Secretary General, if I'm not mistaken. And the vice president of the Democratic Party and running mate in 2021 for Mr. Harry Kalaba was Ms. Judith Kabemba.
Yeah.
So right now, she is the president of the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party
how many registered voters there? 45,371 total number of registered voters, and we will be expecting results here in a short while. In a short while, but these are the candidates.
Chilanga. Quite close to where we are at in Lusaka. Province, next to Lusaka district. And Chilanga South, we're going to see from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, Annie Brown is a contestant here for the NRPUP. We also see two independent candidates. You have Maria Langa as well as Sylvia Mtale. And for the UPND, they did fill in Mr. Ngenda Stumbeko as a candidate. So soon we'll be seeing the official results confirmed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia for Chilanga South, but these are our candidates.
Well, we will continue looking. Looking at some of the constituencies across the country, but also remember that we have been giving you live feed from over 100 constituencies dotted across the country, and we are giving you this feedback in real time. A lot of anxiety, Chimweka, on the fact that people want to see who is leading as member of parliament, who has made it as councillor, but also the leaderboard is one thing that we'll be looking at in terms of at national level. What will be the national picture in terms of who's leading at presidential level? But we'll continue looking at some constituencies and 45,573. There's 7 candidates in this constituency.
This is Chilanga North, so still within Chilanga District. And in Chilanga District, we're going to see there is an independent candidate, Chisangu Liato. Obviously, probably for a lot of people, the first thing that comes to mind any relation to the now late Austin Liato, who was put to rest earlier this week on Tuesday. May so rest in peace. Well, I cannot confirm that, but one thing we can confirm is that the UPND did get to filled in the candidate here, Sipo Lazo, and we also see from the independent candidates, we see 4 independent candidates. One of them is Kapepe Kalyangu. We see David Mpande. We see Mlenga Well, if it wasn't the C there, you'd have suspected it's our very own Justin Mulenga, but it clearly isn't. From the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, we see there's Maureen Mwewa, another independent candidate. Guess what his name is, Jeswa? It's Mr. Guest Nirenda. Yes, the same Guest Nirenda that many of us know from the Operation Young Vote. He's been in the civil society space for quite some time. Obviously, the agenda of having a number of people getting to register to vote, to actively vote, a major focus on young people, and generally having citizens actively participate and exercise their civic duty. And he's taken a different twist now, actively being a part of the campaigns here. And this is what we get to see him as a candidate for this year's election in Chilanga North.
Well, let's see if he can pick that one, coming from the fact that, like you rightly put it, he is very active in terms of civil society, and so perhaps a very good understanding of politics and social and economic issues, and it would be good to get a picture of what the results will look like. But 55,100 registered voters, Chumweka, in this part of the country. There's 4 candidates. What do we have?
Well, what we see from Chongwe East constituency, we were speaking with our reporter earlier, Mutinta, who was giving us an update of how the results are coming in. And from what she mentioned, we're seeing already who is leading. And according to her, we have the independent candidate in Anita Kamanga, who is leading so far, and trailing behind her. From the results that have reached the totaling center is the UPND candidate, Sylvia Masebo. She's been a member of parliament, their former member of parliament, immediate past member of parliament for this constituency. But also from this particular constituency, we did talk about this earlier, Cheswa, the fact that the Tonse Alliance in some constituencies fielded candidates from their 2 anchor political parties, and this is one of those constituencies where the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity had Mr. Geoffrey Chumwe as a candidate. Also, the Resolute Party had Mr. Robster Mwanza as a candidate, and it still speaks towards that particular, expectation or question around how this will work for the voters, for those who could be in support of the Tonse Alliance as a group. How exactly are they going to vote if they have the NRP-UP or the RP, both of them actually being a part of the election? And it's yet to be seen how this is exactly going to be translated or how this will reflect through the results. Chongwe West, interesting enough, this is my constituency actually, and we have quite a number of candidates here, 7 of them. We have independent candidate Mwila Chaloba. From the UPND, we get to see Chasha Martin. We have 4 independent candidates. The other 3, apart from Mwila Chaloba, we do see Oswald Chulu. We see Benedict Decker, also quite worth noting here. Another person from the civil society space, taking herself into the front and actively participating in an election as a candidate. We also see from the Socialist Party, Mr. Brian Hapunda, who has served in diplomatic service, and we did see under the Patriotic Front government, he did serve in diplomatic service and eventually joined the Socialist Party after returning to Zambia, working closely with Dr. Fred Membe, and he's contesting in Chongwe West. We have independent candidate Lee Luando, and well, for the Citizens First Political Party, we cannot forget to mention Remember Mutonga.
Well, you never cease to amaze a lot of people with how the use of words. I mean, you are using the words like guess and remember. But one thing for sure is that there's 68,257 registered voters in this part of the country. And it'll be good to see how the vote counting goes and the results coming in. We await official results in this part of the country. 11 candidates, quite a good part in terms of those that managed to, participate in this election. You know that when many people, when many candidates.
We look at the candidates here in Kafue West. We see that the Citizens First candidate, Mr. Maxwell Chongu, he resigned from the Citizens First political party. He was the national youth chairman for the party. He did disclose that he tried his best to convince their presidential candidate, Mr. Harry Kalaba, to join or support the Tonse alliance, as other presidential candidates did. But according to Mr. Maxwell Chongu, this did not happen. He decided to leave and resign from his position and leave the party altogether to support Mr. Brian Mundubile and his candidate, Makebi Zulu, and be a part of the campaign trail for the Tonse alliance. So I guess the fact that he is still on the ballot, people will still decide whether or not to vote for him. We'll be able to see from the final results as soon as they are verified by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. From the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, Mr. Charles Lungu was a candidate, and what the results would be. For the United Party for National Development, well, I'll not say too much on this name, just so it's the obvious Mwali Teta. And for him, I think for a lot of people, his interest for some people could have been quite obvious, owing to the fact that he has been Member of Parliament within the area there, and with the delimitation process, him getting to contest this year around. We'll see two independent candidates there, Mulemwa Njekwa being one of them, as well as Gibson Sinkala. So these are the 5 aspiring members of Parliament for Kafue West.
We continue to look at more. That is 53,842 for Kafue, but there's now 42,752. There's only three candidates in this part of the constituency, and we'll be glad to show you how these 3 will be faring in a few hours to come.
Looking at the eastern side of Kafue, which interestingly also stretches to some parts of should be Chalala, Lilai, around that area. Kafue East, we get to see Wumba Malambo this time around contesting as a Member of Parliament. She was council chairperson within Kafue District, and contesting now as a Member of Parliament under the United Party for National Development. We also see from the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, Mr. Daniel Sichilongo. This is also another man who is part of, or rather was part of the civil society space, and deciding now to take himself to be a part of the active political space, and that's the case of Mr. Daniel Sichilongo there. And we also see the independent candidate here, who is, well, I guess, Mr. Pride Sinkala.
Well, let's get to Lily and Chipeso right within Lusaka, but they are in Makeni. I would like to get an update with what's happened in Makeni. Lillian, thank you for joining us on the Zambian vote. Could you give us an update with vote counting? What is the latest in Makeni?
Morning, Chimoeka. Vote counting is actually underway here in Makeni constituency within Lusaka district, and we've seen that out of the 103 polling stations here in Makeni, we've only been able to count about 11 polling stations. So that speaks into the number of polling stations that we still have remaining. But I also would like to paint a picture of what's been happening from the time that voting closed here at Bayuni Secondary School yesterday. The latest polling station closed at 18:20, and from that time we saw that vote counting began within the school, and the totaling center is here, but also we've been able to see a number of people come through. There was a delay, though, I must make mention, Cheswa and Chimoeka, is that some of the results that were coming in from polling stations had to be verified. So the returning officer and his assistant kept on sending people back. They documented these results to avoid any speculations and any misinformation that may erupt from, a situation of not having verified and well-tabulated results. But so far, out of 103 polling stations within Makeni constituency, we've only been able to count 11 polling stations, and that's the situation so far. But I would also like to mention that police presence here is heavy. As of 20 hours yesterday, last night, we saw, increased deployment of men and women in uniform to make sure that the totaling center for Makeni constituency is well secured. Security is very paramount within this, constituency at this totaling center.
Lillian, can you tell us, have you managed to speak to any election observers? What are they telling you as far as their experience monitoring this election, and particularly where you are at the polling station, where you are?
Yes, indeed. I did manage HS. So I spoke to, observers from CCMG, observers from political parties. There's also presence for, parliamentary aspirants here. They are here to make sure that they experience the vote counting, to ensure, of course, why we have observers is to ensure fair and transparency in election and election just vote counting as well. So there is a presence here. But some of the concerns also that have been, shared from observers is the low turnout that we've seen. For example, one polling station here just within Bayuni, it had over 700 registered voters, but only managed to capture about 300 voters. That's not even half the number of registered voters. So that's some of the concerns that are coming through with regards to Makeni and the turnout from observers. However, I must make mention that there's not been any complaint of security concerns, political violence. It's been calm and peaceful. There's not been concerns of any reports of, people speculating pre-marked ballot papers or anything like that. It's very calm and everyone is happy with the way things are right now.
Speaking of which, because that's another interesting point for a lot of people looking at, the presence of police. So I'm trying to take a look at your background. We can see no police officer, at least not behind you, owing to the fact that people have had a safe experience, a secure experience. Are we still able to see at least some police presence around the area there?
Yes, Chumeka, we're able to, right on my left and right in front of me, there's a police presence. And behind me, you can see a tree there. That's where the entrance is for the school. And behind there, there's also heavy police presence, making sure that you can't enter even within this, perimeter without producing your accreditation and making sure that you are authorized to be within the totaling center. So there's that, presence that's here.
And just to be sure, Lillian, so we're looking at Makeni, to be precise. So what areas are we covering? And looking at the people represented who came out to vote and where the results are coming in from?
Oh, Chimaka, as you may be aware, Makeni is a new constituency following the limitation. Some of the people that I managed to, the electorates that I engaged with yesterday, and for them, there were concerns even within Makeni, is that they had situations where they had trouble identifying their polling stations. For some who did not take time to do that prior election day, voting day rather, but they did manage to ensure that they find their polling stations, and they're coming from some parts of Kanyama, but also just some parts of Makeni. So there's that. Yesterday I was at New Kanyama Primary. It was actually sharing, polling station. It was one secondary school sharing polling stations with some from Kanyama constituency and some from Makeni constituency because of the delimitation process. But some of the things also that came from the electorates, Chimoika and Chief, I must mention that the person who is going to be emerged as winner for Makeni constituency and has a mammoth task ahead of them, because the electorates here complained of a number of issues: illicit behavior, alcohol abuse, and lack of employment within Makeni, the deplorable states of roads, and just the lack of development, which they are hopeful. The electorates are saying, we are hopeful that, with the delimitation, and now we will have a member of parliament that will focus on not just, a broader constituency, but Makeni, and ensure that they resolve these issues. So those are the sentiments that are coming from, even for the electors. That's the, some of the issues that they look to forward to ensuring that the elected member of parliament that is going to emerge as a winner to resolve, and it's a mammoth task for whoever is going to emerge as winner for Makeni constituency, especially that it's a new constituency.
All right, Lillian, the reason I asked also that question is I understand that when some people think of Makeni, you think of the different people who live around that area. As in Makeni itself, as in the area, we see that we have a number of people who come through from different parts of the world and get to settle around that area of different races. And some of them are actually Zambians and have attained citizenship, or maybe were born here, but still of a different race. Were you able to observe this from those that were actually queuing up to vote yesterday?
No, Chumweka, I was not able to observe that. And the only thing that was very, clear yesterday was that we had more of women turn out to vote and orderly, citizens, both male and female, compared to young people. There was no turnout in terms of young people coming out to vote. And I did take time to speak to the electorates just as they were queued up to cast their ballots. And for them especially, it was intriguing for me that there was low turnout for young people. However, we did see a massive turnout for orderly people. And for them, they were saying, we're speaking for, for our children, for generations to come, and making sure that even though we seem to be getting order by day, but the Zambia that we want to see must ensure that we put it in place. But that's the situation. I was not able to see any person that, visibly I could tell that this is not a Zambian, or that they are of a different nationality, or that, they're Zambian, but they look a little different from a normal Zambian, like you and I.
And finally, Lillian, before we let you go, would you say there's a projection as to what time the other rest of the ballot papers would be coming through to the totaling center where you are?
No, I'm unable to say that, Cheswa, because as of yesterday at 18 hours, we were very confident that we would be getting consolidated results at least by 2 in the morning, but that has not been the case. As I mentioned, out of 103 polling stations within Makeni, which has over 88,000 registered voters, we've only been able to count about from 11 polling stations. And this is already, we are past mid-morning, so I'm unable to tell how long that will take. However, I must make mention that there's been expeditious in terms of how these results are polling from polling stations, because earlier on, it was a slow pace, but now we've been able to pick up, and we have presiding officers from various polling stations within Makeni constituency just waiting in line to have their results verified by the returning officer before they can be tabulated into the system.
All right, Lillian Chipesa, thanks a lot for giving us the details from Makeni. 88,843 voters, 103 polling stations, 10 constituencies. That's a lot. That's huge numbers there in that part of the country. But we will continue giving you some of the latest figures as far as breaking down the constituencies and also showing you the parliamentary candidates that are aspiring for public office.
That's right, Cheswa. And I mean, still on Lusaka, just from hearing from Lillian, who is in Makeni, one of the 3 added constituencies in Lusaka district after the delimitation exercise. We get to see some of the recent ones, Makeni being one of them, Lima constituency as well as Roma constituency, because Lusaka has predominantly, has mainly had the 7 constituencies that people have had to vote from. But with the addition of these 3 new constituencies, we see that Lusaka will be able to put 3 additional members of parliament into the National Assembly. And the fact that it's the first time, as Lillian mentioned, for some people, they need to acclimatize themselves to just that, getting to understand that they are now under Makeni constituency. And this is something that some people are also facing in Lusaka as well. For example, Lusaka Central, what was Lusaka Central prior to the delimitation exercise? We see that part of it has been divided, and has been given to the new constituency called Roma constituency. One of them is a Silizia ward. It's a ward that I've spent a lot of time there myself. I do have family there as well, and they, for the first time, are voting outside Lusaka Central. They've gotten used to voting within Lusaka Central, but now they're voting under Roma constituency. And this may be the situation for so many other people, and making some of these, getting to understand this, getting to know even who some of their candidates are, who is on the ballot. And we've heard even from social media, people may have been talking about it on a lighter note, but this could be serious concern. Some people are talking about how they're not even very aware or sure of who their candidates are. They may have been thinking that the candidates that they've been seeing for another constituency that they got used to were the people that they were expecting to see on the ballot. But going into voting or going to the voting day itself, getting to learn that these are the people who are contesting actually in the new constituency that they belong to now. This may have been a similar situation for those who have been under material constituency and now through delimitation getting into shared into Lima constituency as well. So we get to see this happen in different parts of Zambia, not just Lusaka district, the different parts of Zambia that have seen the delimitation exercise. It may have its positives, it may have its negatives in terms of the candidates and those who have been speaking with the electorate and making them understand. And that's another key point. Those who've done their homework and done their groundwork in giving people that education, doing their part through voter education, will obviously be able to benefit from that. Those that haven't may be disadvantaged from the whole process, but all this, Cheswa, will be reflected through the final outcome, through the vote that we'll be able to see as announced and verified by the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
There was a lot of excitement as far as the delimitation process is concerned, because that meant that there was going to be more people participating in the election. Political parties had the opportunity then to field two candidates. There was an opportunity for political parties to field two candidates in certain instances where they wanted to field either one returning as Member of Parliament or even get the opportunity to field another candidate. But so you see that the delimitation process has perhaps increased participation in this election, and that's one thing that people are able to talk about. But we continue to look at the constituencies that are delimitated, and would like to look at this one that we have here with 19,523 registered voters, 5 candidates, Chimoika, aspiring to be MPs in the race.
This is in Luangwa district, looking at Fera constituency. We did hear from our reporter Mike. He was giving us an update of what was happening there. They're still anticipating the official announcement through the Electoral Commission of Zambia and their mandated officials. But what we see from this, 2 independent candidates, Joseph Felemenga as well as Fatima Nkua, Fatima being the only female candidate among the 5 here. What we also get to see is the UPND did filled in their candidate, Danford Makai. The Socialist Party had fielded in Mr. Bruno Tembo. And we also have the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity fielding in Mr. Emmanuel Tembo. Mr. Emmanuel Tembo is the immediate past Member of Parliament. He was Member of Parliament through the Patriotic Front. And what we got to hear from our reporter Mike, he did say that this was a constituency that was predominantly being held by a movement for multi-party democracy, MMD candidate. And eventually we saw that the MMD at some point got into an alliance with the Patriotic Front, and perhaps this could have been what led to the Patriotic Front getting presence within the constituency, and so it was. And it will be interesting what will happen this year into 2026, whether or not the Patriotic Front, as many would say, through their new structures now, the NRPUP, where we see Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, the immediate past Member of Parliament, contesting under. What is also interesting, Mr. Emmanuel Tembo here is recently was also making rounds of his own when he was talking to people in Luangwa district. At the time, the Tonse Alliance were having a campaign, and I think through a slip of the tongue, was talking about people getting to vote for President Hakainde Hichilema. This is around the same time Mr. Sandy Chanda also made a statement around voting for the PF through the different elective positions. But we saw a lot of, lighter note banter around it. Of course, some people politicize it on a more serious note, but we got to hear from the different candidates who, made a lighter note out of it. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not that particular engagement with the people there, the immediate past member of parliament introducing the presidential candidate under the NRPUP and his running mate to the people there, if this will yield into a good result for him. But so far, from what Mike is telling us, the NRPUP are leading from what the results are showing so far, but we await the consolidated results and what the final outcome will be.
We wait what the final outcome will be, but we turn our focus to Chawama. Well, interesting enough, this particular constituency, 19,523. Well, this one, of course, is one that was once headed by President Edgar Lungu as member of parliament, and then his daughter Tasila Lungu. In fact, yesterday she was just speaking to the media and encouraging people to go out and turn out in numbers. Chawama is a very significant and very interesting constituency. Not long ago, we did see Bright Nundwe, who was elected member of parliament just before the general election on the NRP.
The by-election in January.
Was it on the NRPUP?
He actually stood under the FDD ticket, which was the anchor party of the Tonse Alliance at that time.
Yeah, and you see how this, particular constituency has been, quite many, saying it's been a stronghold of the opposition. People would like to put it that way, but it will be good to see what it will look like with 103,007 registered voters. Who are the candidates?
Well, before I actually get to the candidates, just on that particular point, just if you look at the history of Chawama constituency, like you rightly mentioned, late President Edgar Lungu was a member of parliament there under the time late president, also Michael Sata was Republican president. He held that seat. And when he was voted as Republican president, we saw that we had Mr. Lawrence Sichalwe take up that particular constituency. And eventually we saw that the daughter of Zambia's sixth Republican president, Tasila Lungu, got elected in 2021 after being councillor actually prior to her election as a member of parliament in 2021. There was a by-election that took place earlier this year in January that saw one of the candidates, Mr. Bright Nundwe. Now, again, getting to the aspect of the Tonse Alliance fielding two candidates from the anchor political parties, this is another constituency that has, whether it can be called a problem or it could be called people just exercising their democratic right, it's yet to be seen from what the outcome will be. But we see that the NRPUP did field in Mr. Muhammad Mtete, as well as the Resolute Party fielding in Mr. Bright Nundwe there. So he's seeking to be re-elected from January up until about now. Many also questioned on what exactly could have happened under that particular tenure between January to about May, when we got to see the parliamentary seats get to be dissolved. But now he's seeking for a full mandate within the next 5 years. It's yet to be seen whether or not he'll be able to achieve that. From the independent, the only independent candidate is Beatrice Kabungo. So she is the only female candidate there. We see from the leadership movement, Ntazana Musukuma, Ntazana Musukuma actually also contested from the by-election actually earlier on this year. And what is interesting about this for the leadership movement, they've been quite consistent in terms of fielding in candidates through by-elections and even just for some of these parliamentary seats across the country. For the UPND, they've brought in a different candidate from the one that was contesting earlier this year alongside Mr. Bright Nundwe. And they've made quite a number of changes, because remember that even prior to their contestant from the by-election, we saw that there was a bit of what seemed to be some sort of miscommunication or a challenge where they had announced one particular candidate and then eventually changed and announced another candidate, but neither of these two that were announced were selected for the general election. Instead, they've gone for engineer Abel Ngandu, who is former president of the Engineering Institution of Zambia, EIZ, and he's contesting this year under Chawama constituency. We also see from the Citizens First that they did field in Mr. James Piri. So these are the 6 candidates who are vying for the Chawama parliamentary seat. To be interesting to see who exactly this will go to.
Well, let's see who it will go to in Chawama, Chimweka. But let's cross over and hear from Wellington, who is also on standby. He will be giving us some details in the polling station where he is at the moment. Now, in Roma, in Lusaka district, Wellington Kasonde is joining us. Wellington, thank you for speaking with us this mid-morning. Could you tell us the latest in Roma? What does the results you're receiving look like this far?
Morning Cheswa, morning Chimweka. I'm actually in Matero constituency. I'm reporting from the Tottling Center at Matero Boys Secondary School. And I was here yesterday up until 05, but between 05 and now, we've received over 50 results from 50 polling stations. Now, the presiding officer says that this is out of the 107 polling stations that are within Matero constituency. I also must add that one of the candidates that is vying for the position of Member of Parliament has already taken to social media claiming that they have won this particular seat. And if I'm going to go to my notes, this particular candidate is Patrick Salubusa of the RP party. Now, he was going up against Alexander Sakala of the UPND, Munalula Mioni of the Socialist Party, and Annie Chinyanta, who is an independent candidate. Now, of course, the parties and many people have taken to social media to celebrate and congratulate Mr. Salubusa, but he has not yet officially been declared as Member of Parliament from Matero. I also must add that right now what you're seeing behind me are more polling staff, more polling agents that have just arrived to the Tottling Center. There might be a lot of chaos within. I have shared pictures with our social media team as people get their documents ready to ensure that the announcing of results may commence. At the moment, like I said, only 57 at the time that I asked the polling officials how many people and how many polling stations have been able to bring in their votes. The car that's behind me, that truck right there, just brought in more people from different polling stations, ensuring that we're able to begin announcing these results, to ensure that we're able to give people a real and accurate update as regards to the findings and the ongoings here in Matero constituency.
So what you're telling us is that there hasn't been an official announcement yet, but of course we see some jubilation there from some candidates. What has been announced so far, and what figures could you tell us you have at the moment from the polling stations that have brought in the ballot papers?
As rightly put, Cheswa, no official communication now. As you know, on the constituency level, only the Tottling Center can announce a winner for Member of Parliament and then declare results of the mayoral candidates as well as the presidential candidates. Now, no official announcement has come out of Shaminadho at Matero Boys Secondary School, where I believe every single candidate has had their people in the polling stations. And because the polling stations did the counting and they were able to announce at the individual polling station level, that is where these results are coming in. I must say it's unofficial, no total tabulation has been given, and all things shared on social media should be taken as speculation or opinions and not genuine facts, because the facts are yet to be declared here at the Tottling Center in Matero. With over 88,790 people that have registered to vote, it will also be interesting to see how these numbers were able to come through. Those were just registered voters. So what we're looking forward to see is if genuinely a 50-plus population came out and decided to vote and declare who is going to be their Member of Parliament, who is going to be their president here in Matero constituency.
Now, Wellington, I'm trying to look at the area you're at there, and if I can remember, it's actually, interestingly, quite close to one of the businesses of one of the candidates. There should be a bar or pub that he owns just nearby there. Are we seeing any reactions coming through from Mr. Alexander Sakala or the UPND and the supporters? Because like you mentioned, the candidate under the Resolute Party from the Tonse Alliance has already been celebrating and is announcing that he's the victor of this particular election here. Have we seen a reaction coming through from one of the four runners from this race?
The security at my location right now is extra intense. We have about 7 policemen with guns standing at the gate manning it. And then even here within the area, scattered across are more officials. So at the moment within this area, and I know his business is just a couple of kilometers away, I believe 2 kilometers away from where Matero Boys is, no initial reaction or retaliation has been felt because of Alex Sakala's perceived defeat. Now I must say perceived because this hasn't been officially communicated. But I must let you know that there was a disturbance at Lilanda polling station B, where a police officer was injured as well as 2 polling staff, and 2 ballot boxes were stolen during the time of counting. So because of that, there's been a beef up in police presence. If you can, I unfortunately cannot point my camera at the police at the moment because I was told not to, but right now a car has just moved in, a Land Cruiser, a Toyota Land Cruiser has just moved in by the Zambia police, carrying in more people to enforce and ensure that security is kept at the utmost priority here at the Tottling Center. It's been a peaceful voting day, but the calculating and the totaling has been what has been one of the iffy or one of the unsettling moments of every single election. Matero constituency being one of the most talked about and sought after constituencies. Of course, we'll have wrangles here and there, but the police are on ground and on site to ensure that everything runs smoothly right here.
All right, thank you, Wellington. And if you happen to cross the road, remember you're on duty and all you can take is a soft drink or a bottle of water from there. Thank you, Wellington. Well, that's what's coming through.
Wellington is the one you'll be advising about that. Perhaps someone else who perhaps is at the Mulungushi International Conference Center right now as we cross over to the podcast that they have there. And we will continue giving you and breaking down the figures for you per constituency. There's over 100 reporters across the country that are giving us live feed as it happens.
That's right. Remember, it's Zambian Vote. And we are here to give you the information as it happens. Well, Cheswa, it's already 6 minutes past midday. I guess the Electoral Commission of Zambia failed to meet their own time as they committed. They did commit that they will be able to give the update by mid-morning, actually today. It's now midday. So people continue waiting for the first set of results coming through from the Electoral Commission of Zambia from the National Elections Results Center. So we'll continue waiting. I guess we need to give a bit more time to give accurate information, an accurate update as the nation gets to await what will be said by them. But speaking of the National Elections Results Center, that is the Mulungushi International Conference Center, we have our team there. We'll be hearing from Malama as we get into our Zambian Vote podcast alongside Mr. Darius Jonias. So look out for more insights as we continue giving you these updates through our various platforms. My name is Jumwega Chileshe.
My name is Cheswa Peter Kapasa. We cross over to the podcast.
for the counting to be concluded. We just keep seeing results coming out from different parts of the country, and it's pretty interesting to see how people have voted. In certain areas, we've gotten to see that there's been low voter turnout, which is quite disappointing, as you know, the idea of voting is to ensure that people do come out to exercise their national duty. But one would argue that that also, again, is their choice. It's their democratic right to come out or not. But there's always that encouragement to see people come out and vote. Well, welcome to the Zambian Vote podcast. My name is Malama Mukonde, and I'm with Daria Joni, and we're going to be speaking into the electoral process and some of the things that have happened through day one, spilling into day two. We did get to see also from the ECZ that they would be giving results at least by midday today. It's currently 12:09, so 9 minutes past midday, but we continue to wait to see what will be coming out from that. Darius, an interesting time that we are in, as this is the 2026 general election, kicked off on an interesting note, seeing that some of the polling stations did not open at 0600 hours as guided by the process itself.
Indeed, Malama, and it is, you know, the important process. This is a process that, you know, comes every after 5 years, and we're talking about 8.7 million, actually over 8.7 million people that were registered by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Malama, so that they can be able to exercise their democratic right to vote for their preferred, you know, candidates. We are talking about the councillors, the mayors, the members of parliament, as well as, you know, the presidential candidates. And this time around, Malama, I think we saw quite a number of presidential candidates successfully being, you know, successfully passing through the nomination process. Just right here at Mulungushi Conference Center, you're talking about initially there were, you know, 14 aspiring presidential candidates, not until the Electoral Commission of Zambia released a statement not so long ago saying that one of the presidential candidates in Xavier, you know, Chungu, who I think remains still in detention, facing, you know, charges, decided to pull out. And, well, his supporters are supporting the, I think, biggest rival of incumbent president, Hakainde Hichilema, Mr. Brian Mundubila. So right now we are talking about 13 aspiring presidential candidates, all wanting the biggest position in the country, all wanting, you know, that president seat.
They're all vying for that one seat. The race is definitely on. Numbers are pouring in from across the country. Others even already feeling like the election has already been won. We did get to see Mr. Brian Mundubila express himself in that regard, but one would say it's a little too early to be able to claim victory, and others would guide, even CSOs would guide that, look, you know, in a time like this, it's better not to celebrate when we haven't even seen half the votes being counted or confirmed. Constituencies are still pouring in those numbers, so why not just relax and hold on, so that also people don't get agitated, because that's what happens is, you know, when comments like that also start coming in from leaders, people could rally behind that and get excited, and that could have a positive or a negative outcome.
Yeah, and I think this is the reason why we've even seen the Electoral Commission of Zambia and other, you know, stakeholders that are monitoring this important electoral process, such as, you know, Action Aid, PANOS, NGOCC, among others. Not also forgetting, Malama, that we also have, you know, our reporters across the country that are giving us verified data when it comes to how, you know, the numbers are of the cast, you know, ballots. I think there's been, you know, a concern on why, you know, people should begin declaring themselves as winners even before the Electoral Commission of Zambia does, you know, so we understand that at, at polling stations or at the telling center, there are, agents from the Electoral Commission of Zambia, and also, some agents from these political parties that are contesting this election. And it's only right, Malam, I think, to get verified information, of course, through, Diamond TV, as we continue giving live updates in relating to this, the biggest event, which is, the general election. Yes, you're right. We've seen, a video, quite a number of, allegations that have been raised, but we know that the Electoral Commission of Zambia, while we are waiting here.
While we are still waiting.
Yes.
We are still waiting,
Yes.
for Mr. Brian to be, Mr. Brown Kasoro, I beg your pardon, to be able to come out and say, look, this is what the standings look like currently, and however counting continues as these numbers continue to pour in. So we have to wait, we have to be patient. I can understand the excitement of an election, but there is that patience that needs to be exercised, and after all, it is the responsibility of all of us Zambians that are participating in this election, whether it is from a political standpoint or it is from the electorate standpoint, it is from security, police, and so on. We all have a role to play, and how peace and unity at the end of an election turns out depends on also how we behave. So it is within the characteristics of all of us to be able to stand in line of saying one Zambia, one nation. And these are the things that these political leaders, these political candidates, aspirants have also been speaking into. We've seen pockets of violence during campaigns. We've seen disturbances here and there equally through the counting process, through the electoral process now. And the core, again, is for Zambians to remain calm and, for people to just stay put.
And Malama, while we have, people declaring themselves winners before the verified results are announced, we've also seen, people conceding defeats. I think at parliamentary level, we've seen some,